This is Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I wouldn't say that it's low-hanging fruit to rip Nick Sirianni at this point, but are there other people that we have to look at as well? We'll get into that today. Also, the Phillies clinched the bye last night, and we'll expand on a conversation that Johnny and I had yesterday about who you want in the first round. It's on you right now. Bring them all on. I don't care, John. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade Salciunas.
This is not about winning a game. This is about a bigger picture. No, this is about trying to get to a Super Bowl, getting back to an NFC Championship game.
I always look at September in the NFL as survive in advance. And this team, the stuff that I'm not worried about is the stuff that they got to work on.
Kincade Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
How are you this morning?
Dry now.
It was fun driving to work.
Yeah, it was a little dicey out there.
I hate the Schuylkill in the rain.
Oh, yeah. I hate the Schuylkill, period. But
202 is fine.
Okay.
I'm wide open on 202. Nobody's out there. Everybody, except the people who feel they need to race you and jockey with you. Wide open, it's nice. But that Schuylkill, it's a mess.
It is a mess.
Somebody needs to clean the drains, the grates.
Somebody needs to redo the road, but that would take way too long knowing this city and the traffic. But okay. All right, so the Eagles are getting set to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we'll get into the injury report later on in the show. It's going to be pretty dicey. This game might not go well for the Eagles, and it's not because, are the Eagles worse than the Buccaneers? No, they're dealing with a bunch of injuries. So the coaching staff and the marquee players that will be playing have to step up. Now, there's a reason why I say the marquee players. So, John, Nick Sirianni has been a focal point when it comes to any Eagles conversation through 3 weeks of the NFL season.
And that is not our fault. That is his fault.
That is his fault.
He has put himself into the center of every conversation because of his actions.
Yeah, I mean, the fourth down decisions have been bad. I mean, through week 2 and 3, they were just bad. He gave
really
up
hard.
points. His explanations aren't great. He goes from Mr. Macho Man saying, I believe in my decisions, to the next week, I don't have to discuss this with you anymore, because he's clearly probably rethinking his decisions. He probably realizes that he's wrong, and every decision that he's making is going in the opposite direction. So Nick Sirianni has been a big talking point of discussion. It got to the point where yesterday when we had Adam Schefter on, the Bill Belichick stuff came up, because it's there. I mean, it's on everybody's mind.
By the way, wait till I kill Adam next time we talk.
Excuse me?
I'm going to kill him next time we talk, because the NFL Live crew mentioned the actual word jockeying.
Oh, really?
Of Bill Belichick jockeying for attention and using his media opportunities to be right front and center to everybody know, I'm here.
Right.
I'm here. And if anybody tossed him the keys to the Dallas Cowboys, he'd stroll in tomorrow.
Oh, he'd taking a heartbeat.
Stroll in tomorrow.
He's keeping a close eye on tonight's game.
Right.
Between the Cowboys and Giants.
He'd stroll in tomorrow. I'm surprised him and LeFou aren't on TV tonight doing something.
They might be, for all we know.
They could be.
But yeah, I mean, it's been easy to talk about Nick Sirianni, because we know that it's going to lead to many reactions. That we're going to rip Nick Sirianni. There's going to be people that are going to defend Nick Sirianni, even though there's not many people still doing that. But there are, and it's led to great conversation.
It has. It really has.
Now, maybe, I don't know, have we focused too much on it? We'll let you guys decide at 610-632-0975, because the question, and I haven't really thought about this. Now, we have talked about Jalen Hurts and the turnovers, right?
Yes,
Let's
we
not
have.
act like it's been Nick Sirianni radio for 3 weeks so far. Jalen Hurts and the turnovers. Nick Sirianni actually coached a good game week 1. Jalen Hurts had 3 turnovers in week 1. Thankfully, they won that football game. We have talked about the defensive line issues, both pass rush and run defense. That stopped a little bit week 3, well, more than a little bit, a lot of bit on week 3 against the New Orleans Saints. We've talked glowingly about the secondary. We talked glowingly about Dallas Goedert last week. We have talked glowingly, it's hard not to, about Saquon Barkley. So there's been a lot of positive things to talk about when it comes to the players.
Lots of them.
But there are also still some negatives that we should probably focus on, despite them having probably their best game week 3. I would say all-around game. Defense was tremendous week 3.
The defense was ridiculous.
And if Hurts doesn't turn the ball over 2 times, we talked about the offensive numbers. The statistics were incredible. Over 400 yards of total offense in that game. That was a great day for the players of the Philadelphia Eagles, not so much Nick Sirianni, but Jalen Hurts turned the ball over 2 times again. So Stephen A. Smith, on First Take yesterday, he was battling Mad Dog Russo.
I don't know, Mad Dog. I don't know what he did. What did he say about the Eagles? What did he have to say about our Philadelphia Eagles?
Here's Stephen A. Smith pinning a question on the Eagles fans, and the national media in the way that we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, guess what? If Saquon Barkley doesn't drop a surefire first down catch against Atlanta, it's 3-0 that the Philadelphia Eagles are. I'm looking at a guy like Jalen Hurts that's committed 6 turnovers over the season thus far, 2 each game. He has 26 turnovers since the start of last season, more than anybody in the National Football League, after having an MVP caliber season in which he only committed 8 turnovers and went to the Super Bowl the year before. I'm looking at the fact that you got a guy like a Nick Sirianni that goes into New Orleans on the road. And again, I don't like some of the idiotic things that he says. The worst thing about him is his press conferences. But we also have to take into account, this is who Nick Sirianni has been. We have to be fair to this man.
I'm glad that Stephen A. Smith is listening to his local press conferences. Because you don't say that unless you know how bad the press conferences are.
No, I'm telling you, that's because they do segments on it on NFL Live.
Right.
They do segments on it, and they mean he's made himself a focal point.
Yeah, he's become
it's not good.
A bit of a joke across league circles. And people didn't like him when they were winning because of the way he acted on the sideline. So let's not act like this is all new.
No, it's not.
The national media wasn't probably very fond of Nick Sirianni, even when the Eagles are playing really well. So the point that Stephen A. was getting to, the topic that they were having during that show of First Take, was whether or not Nick Sirianni is catching too much heat through the first 3 weeks of the Eagles season. He mentions that if Saquon Barkley, the player, catches the football, they're 3-0. If Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, does not have as many turnovers, maybe they're 3-0. Or if they're 2-1, the product at least still looks better. Maybe they don't just score how many points they score against the Saints?
That would be 15.
15. Maybe instead of scoring 15 points, they scored 21 or 24
Well, they would have guaranteed. They could have easily had 21.
Well, if he did the field goals.
21 we could just assume is a really easy thing to assume that they would have.
Right. So the question today at 610-632-0975, are the players getting enough criticism? Look, Nick Sirianni, I believe, deserves every bit of criticism that he has received.
I think Jalen is.
Is he getting enough? Are you sure he's getting enough criticism?
No, Jalen has a blind defender route that I've never seen. I can't even imagine how it is. But to me, yeah, I think Jalen's gotten enough. I think Jalen's gotten enough critique.
See, I really haven't seen it, man.
Really?
We even had a caller again this week saying the interception wasn't his fault. I mean, the amount.
Jalen's gotten enough critique.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think Jalen's gotten it. If you agree with me,
there were people calling him Carson Wentz, myself included, on Sunday.
And that's unfair,
dude. And if I'm saying it the way that I handle players and teams in this city,
true.
He's gotten enough critique.
That's a good point.
I think Connor owns his when Connor will own his critique,
absolutely,
and say,
You're not just gonna say
here's what
something move on.
And so to me, I'm looking at it as I think he's absolutely gotten enough. I think I don't think he's gotten an unfair amount.
No.
But I do believe he's gotten enough. And I do think that, but I would say to people, who else, if we're not talking Sirianni, we're not talking Hurts.
Right.
Who's to blame? The offensive line? Is there anybody in the offensive line that should be catching shrapnel right now?
No, Jalen Hurts has the most time in a clean product of the NFL this year.
So it's not the offensive line. It's not Saquon Barkley. It's not his wide receivers.
No.
At least the top 2.
It's not his tight end. Well, Jahan Dotson even can't catch any shrapnel.
That would be such a minimal issue.
And he's been open.
Yeah.
Available to catch balls that haven't been delivered to him. The defensive side of the ball, we've critiqued the pass rush or lack thereof. Bryce Huff is almost people almost look at him as a joke. He's been and he's earned every bit of that disrespect.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't believe that people should be doing that yet, but I think that people are there with him. I think absolutely think Jalen Hurts has gotten enough. And by the way, I admire Jalen. Because you know what he hasn't done? He hasn't done Nick Sirianni routine.
You're right.
He hasn't done super defensive Jalen Hurts going. Jalen Hurts has eaten every bit of critique that he's gotten.
Right.
And I haven't heard word one from him trying to deflect it.
I haven't heard the you don't know what you don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, he's not above that.
No, he's not.
Because he's done it before.
Right.
He's not above it. But I am impressed that Jalen hasn't gone to that card, and I'm glad that he hasn't. Because I'd rip him for it if he did.
Now, if you were to ask me, again, the first question today at 610-632-0975, do you believe the Eagles players are getting enough criticism? It's been 3 weeks of not necessarily pretty football. They're 2-1. It hasn't been pretty. I know everybody likes to point out the lack of preseason, and maybe that's why it's not pretty to start. You look at the rest of the NFL. Clearly, that's an issue league-wide. But are the players getting enough criticism to start? Now, I will say this. Nick Sirianni still deserves the biggest piece of the pie when it comes to criticism.
I mean, it's not even
I think
close.
we're handling it well. I just wonder if there are some times where people will give the players the pass because they don't like Nick Sirianni so much.
Well, one thing is that, and it's a strange thing, and we've talked about it. It is extremely strange to me, the amount of just grace that Jalen Hurts gets as a quarterback in this town. I'm shocked because I've never seen it before. And we've talked about that. I've never seen it before. And people of my generation, compared to you guys, we look at it and go, I can't believe when people are like, you're being too critical of Jalen because being a quarterback in this town, it's murder.
Yeah.
It's murder. And it always has been. People act like you're being too tough on Jalen. Don't be too tough on him. This city eats its young.
And I do wonder.
It used to. It doesn't anymore. Now
I do wonder if part of it is so many people were out on Jalen to start, myself included. I was looking for the next best thing, right?
You were. You were out on him 2 years ago, too.
Yes.
You wanted, whether it was Russell or whether you were looking at name brand.
Before the Super Bowl year.
You were looking at name brand.
Because I liked the roster. Yeah, I liked the roster being built. Look, that roster got to the Super Bowl, so it was a good roster. Thankfully, they didn't make any of those moves because we'd probably be losing our damn minds right now. Hell, Russell Wilson wouldn't be here anymore. We would have a different quarterback.
Hey, Philly, let's roll.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God.
Oh, jeez.
But you're right, but I wonder if part of it is so many people realize they were probably wrong on Jalen Hurts that they don't want to now go back to the opposite side, and maybe that's why they're so protective of the guy.
Well, one thing is that there are different levels of fans like that. Like there are guys like Connor. Connor would eat it. That's one thing I would say. He would eat it. If he was wrong on Jalen Hurts, he'd just come out and say, I'm wrong. Got it. Look, I'm glad. Let me get on his bandwagon now. Now I believe. He showed me I believe in him. But I believe there are a lot of fans who don't want to move off their original opinions.
Oh, yeah, they stay quiet. It's the Phillies fans all over again. God forbid, if the Phillies lose in the first round of the playoffs, you know the field day that there will be for a lot of Phillies fans.
And I have no place for the cockroaches. And they are. They're cockroaches that are going to sit there and go, I'm just waiting for a team that I supposedly love to fail so I can then come out and go, see, I told you so. You didn't know Jack. You were wrong all season about that team.
You don't know Jack.
You were wrong all year about the Phillies. And you kept saying they were going to choke. Kept saying, don't come out. If they lose in the first round, we've seen it over and over again. Teams with the bye weeks have been terrible in baseball. Now, Houston figured it out.
Houston figured it out pretty well.
We're going to try to figure out a way to figure it out.
Rob Thompson said he called some people. Maybe he called Dusty.
Dodgers have lost twice as the bye week team. Braves have lost twice. But there are cockroaches waiting to come out. So there are always people that are like, I'm going to die on the mountain of my opinion on Jalen Hurts being right.
Absolutely.
Or anybody else, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. Are the players getting enough criticism through the first 3 weeks of the season? Do you think some guys are getting overly criticized? I believe there's probably a Bryce Huff defender out there.
No, there isn't.
Somewhere.
No, there isn't.
I saw videos. Look at him setting the edge in week 3. He's getting better. No, the guy.
We didn't pay him to set the freaking
exactly.
edge.
The guy's got
one part of his job description.
No,
Stop it.
He's supposed to get after the quarterback, and he hasn't done that yet. So you can climb it at 610-632-0975. You can text it. You can call in.
Who did that?
By the way, Nick Sirianni, again, for me, majority of the blame. So even if I say maybe the players aren't getting enough criticism, that's okay. It's because Nick Sirianni deserves pretty much all of it. Here's Tim McManus yesterday on with the best show ever, talking about Nick Sirianni. I don't even know how to set it up. It's about the analytics, but he doesn't follow his analytics or the analytics that maybe the Eagles provide for him. Take a listen.
It doesn't seem like he's been following the analytical model. Several of his decisions have kind of gone against what the common analytical suggestions are. So it becomes difficult to figure out exactly what's guiding him. And so that's really the problematic thing. I know he puts a lot of work into this, and I know it's not just a seat-of-your-pants type of thing, like there is a method here. But it's hard to figure out exactly what that method is. And, of course, the scrutiny comes down even more so when those things don't go right.
I mean, by the way, McManus does such a nice job.
He's
Tim
amazing.
McManus, he does such a nice job of just sort of summarizing sort of reading between the lines.
Yeah.
Really, really nice work.
I mean, he's tremendous. And you hear that clip, and you're basically getting information that Nick Sirianni doesn't know what he's doing.
And I don't feel...
That's a problem.
By the way, thanks a lot, Tim McManus, because I don't feel better. Like it's like there's things that I hear, like we will have guests on or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, I don't feel
that didn't
better.
help.
Thanks
right.
a lot. Thanks a lot, because I don't feel better. When someone's going to quote to me about that they believe in analytics, and they pass on something that gives you a 90-something% chance of victory, they go, if I do this, if I run the ball here, make them take their last timeout, and I take 40 seconds, they don't have a last timeout, so I take 40 seconds off the clock, I have a 90-something% chance to win. Then I don't want to hear about any of your analytics, because that would be the best analytics you could ever follow.
Right, absolutely.
But they do these convoluted Raptor and all those other crap you guys bring out every time.
Well, he doesn't even say. He just says my chart. He's got his own chart, but he's going against his own chart.
I'm going to trust the charts in my iPad better. And people saw them yesterday and were like,
they did.
I had people, by the way, it was either one of two things. No, it was either one of two things. I absolutely love that. I had two people email me going, could I forward it to them? I'm like, well, I'll tell you how it's done.
So there's other crazy people among us.
That's what I said.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I said.
Making me more nervous.
Too many crazy people among us.
The best I did receive was CJ, who said, it seems like something off an episode of Criminal Minds.
Yes. Yeah, it does. I don't feel safe in this room.
I have it in every sport, too, by the way.
The number to climb in, 610-632-0975. Are the Eagles players getting enough criticism? Stephen A. Smith posed that question yesterday on ESPN. We'll discuss it all day today. Also, Phillies clinch a bye last night. They get the win. And how about the Pirates taking care of business against the Brewers last night?
Got a couple runs in the sixth, make it 2-1, and then
and there you go. That was it. And so the Phillies get the bye. We don't know yet if they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed. But I want to have I want to further this conversation that we touched on yesterday. We didn't take too much time on it. But this is something that I would love for the audience to check in on as well, because this has been something that you and I have talked about a couple of times, and we got a little bit more into it yesterday. I will allow you to explain who you would like in the first round, and I would like the audience to give an answer of who you would like. You guys already know my answer. I don't give a damn. Whoever the Phillies get in the first round of the playoffs, if they do not win, it is a failure. Padres, Brewers, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Mets, Braves, you name it. Whoever they play in the first round, this Phillies team is supposed to go to the World Series.
Are we in triumvirate agreement that is going to be our opinion and there'll be no backing off of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm in.
Kinda. Not fully that way. There are teams that present an easier matchup. I don't think.
Then, that's fine. But
if the Phillies in the first round,
if the Phillies lose in the first round, it is the third year in a row they've stepped back.
Absolutely.
That's
okay,
the
loss
so
for sure.
So at least we're all on the same footing of expectation.
Right.
Now NLCS, I don't.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll see.
Right.
Because maybe I'll see a team that has played 2 great series, a wild card team that.
Right.
That looks like
the
they're
Phillies
hot
have,
and
the
everything.
Diamondbacks have,
and I'll understand a little more. You're right, Andrew, on that. It's just a matter of, I wouldn't be shocked, and last night I told Christine, I wouldn't be shocked if we had 3 different answers about who we hope is sitting there in Citizens Bank Park on October 5th.
Yeah, that's more what I'm saying. Like, we're all pissed off if they lose in the divisional round. Like, that's unacceptable. But we should evaluate which teams would be the better matchup.
I'm not even giving a preference.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm absolving myself from this.
Look, it is if you lose in the NLDS, this team has failed with a capital F, underline it, and mark it in red.
Okay, but I'll still tell you what teams I think. Okay, I think they match up well against this team. I think they don't match up as well against that team.
Then coming up next, I want you both to give your answer of who you want the Phillies to face. I'll give you one to play along, but I'm telling you.
You're going to wait, though, right? You're going to wait to get the answer, right? Yours?
Coming up next.
Okay, good. I want to make sure.
Oh, coming up next.
Because I'm thinking,
my man.
I believe we're going to have 3 different answers.
Okay.
I'm going to guess.
Add in the Braves as well, because they're still
the Braves have to be in the
fighting
mix.
for it. Yeah.
It could be Brewers, Padres, Mets, Diamondbacks, or Braves.
Right. Exactly. So we would also want you to play along with this at 610-632-0975. Are the Eagles players getting enough criticism through the shaky first 3 weeks of the season? And also, the Phillies clinched their bye yesterday. Who do you want the Phillies to face in the NLDS? To me, it doesn't matter. You'll hear Jason Stark give his opinion on what seed would be best for the Phillies coming up next. We got a lot in store for you today. It's going to be a busy day on a Wendy's Thursday morning on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies secure the bye. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Wendy's. It's football. Sauciest tailgate with the kick. We're not talking about a field goal available at participating U.S. Wendy's. The Phillies locked down a first round.
97.5 The Fanatic on this Wendy's Thursday morning. So that means $50 gift cards. That means breakfast burritos. Let's give one out right out of the gate here. First caller to the contest line, number 1. So if you're listening, bang. Congratulations. 215-263-0975. The first caller to the contest line will win a $50 Wendy's gift card. We have 4 of them to give away today. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack. 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open till midnight or later. Participating locations only. Caller number 1, 215-263-0975. All right, so we'll get into this Eagles conversation some more. Are the players getting enough criticism? Stephen A. Smith on ESPN yesterday wasn't necessarily defending Nick Sirianni, but basically made the point that we're talking so much about Sirianni and not necessarily the players like Saquon Barkley when he dropped the ball in week 2, Jalen Hurts, and the interceptions. The only hard thing for me with Saquon, he's right. Saquon's got to catch that football. He's been so damn good.
He's just ridiculous.
That, I can't be critical of, even though if he catches it, ball game.
Yeah.
But he's been so good this year.
Yeah, seriously. Like if you're stretching if he never, again, the coach's job, and he said it. He has said it. Nick Sirianni could have a drinking game with this.
Yeah.
The coach's job is to put someone in the best position to succeed. He always says it. That's his job as the coach. He did not put Saquon in the best position to succeed.
No, he did not.
On that play.
Now, Saquon has to bring that ball in, especially when he caught it earlier.
You don't need to do that play at that point.
Right.
Put him in the best position to succeed is Saquon running the ball, and they hadn't stopped him all night.
No, they hadn't. Yeah.
Two carries, he more than doubled the yardage. They needed 3 yards. You just got cute. Everything's got to be cute with Nick Sirianni. Everything's just got to be cute.
No, you're spot on, man. But the other conversation we're having, the Phillies clinched their bye yesterday with the win and the Brewers' loss. So it leads to this next topic, which we opened up last segment. Who do you want? In that first round in the NLDS, the Phillies still have the opportunity to be the 1 seed. If the season ended today, they would be the 2 seed, and they would take on the winner of the Milwaukee Brewers or the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Atlanta Braves are currently out of the playoffs, but they're still in the playoff picture. They have 2 games to play against the Mets on Monday that we will get into later on in the show. But right now, the Phillies have the chance to play in the NLDS, either the Padres, Mets, Brewers, Diamondbacks, or Braves. There's 5 teams. Nothing is set in stone yet when it comes to that. So the question is, who do you want in that NLDS? You can answer at 610-632-0975. Before we play that, here's Jeff Passan yesterday on the Pat McAfee show talking about his pick for the team that will win the World Series in the playoffs this year.
I think the best team, Pat, is the Philadelphia Phillies.
Wow.
And you look at that roster, and they have got stars. It's Bryce Harper, and it's Trey Turner, and it's Kyle Schwarber, and it's JT Realmuto, and Alec Boehm's taking a step forward. Zach Wheeler at the front of the rotation with Aaron Nola and Christopher Sanchez.
Anyways,
what is that?
Boehm?
What is
I
that?
bet you he doesn't know who the hell Alec Boehm is. I know Pat McAfee's Mr. Media these days. There is zero shot he knows who the hell Alec Boehm is.
He was an all-star starter at third base. He knows who Alec Boehm is.
I've heard I am a fan of Pat McAfee. I've said it. I think he is one of America's greatest entrepreneurs.
Yes.
His knowledge of baseball is a shot glass. Yeah, he doesn't Connor, when he talks baseball, you can just tell he's being a cursory discussion of baseball.
I mean, the guy was in the home run derby and was an all-star starter.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's baseball, it's almost like, I'm obligated. I'm obligated to talk about this.
So the reason why I wanted to play that basically paints a picture of how I'm feeling, right?
Okay.
I don't care who they play in the first round. They better win. If not, the season's a failure.
We all agree.
Yeah, exactly. You have guys like Jeff Passan who cover the league inside and out. That's telling you right now the Phillies are the best team. Buster Olney still believes the Phillies. I believe you. I mean, you heard him mention you on the podcast the other day.
Well, he said flat out on his podcast the other day. He heard me on Greeny. I did a guest spot on Greeny talking about the Phillies, and we talked Eagles too, but talking about the Phillies. And I said I would prefer the 2 seed.
Right.
And he said, I don't think you want to jury rig things like that. I don't think you want to try to manipulate
just
picking
keep playing
your opponents.
baseball.
He says you play your best ball and you decide whatever's important to you, then you take, let it however it lands.
Right, exactly. Because you open the door to bad karma too. If you're going, we want to play this team instead, let's lose on purpose. Hey, we've seen that happen in this city before.
Sure.
All right. So answer the question, John. I'll start with you because you're the most passionate one
about
when we posted the photo of your
my spreadsheet,
psycho spreadsheet about the Philadelphia Phillies and the tiebreaker.
Well, you know what? Then I don't
scenarios.
end up like talking baseball like Pat McAfee.
That's a good point.
I absolutely have done my research and looked at things. Mine's easy, and I'll tell you of the teams you could play in that round. I'm going to tell you right now. My worst choice would be Arizona. Worst choice. Don't want Arizona. Not in a 5-gamer. Don't want them. They play the Phillies well. They play small ball. They force you to make plays. This team's bad defensively. My next least favorite team I want to play is the Mets. The Mets remind me a lot of the Phillies the last couple of years, and we just saw while they played the Mets for 7 games in the last 2 weeks, even when the Phillies win, they have to lay down bunts in the 8th inning to try to eke out games against the Mets.
Baseball, baby.
And that's how they have to too tight. Brewers would be my second choice. Atlanta, by far. Let the Braves get in. Let the Braves win a wild card series, and let them come in and play the Phillies.
That's fascinating.
Absolutely not.
That's fascinating.
Okay, now look,
dude.
That's why I said we're going to have 3 different answers. So don't you two react to mine yet, because I think we're going to have 3 different answers. That's what I predicted last night.
Now, I'm going to think I know part of the reason why you would want Atlanta. It has nothing to do with your ties, but I'll
okay. No, it has nothing to do with my ties.
We'll hold the phone. Connor, what is your answer, Mr. Locked On Phillies podcast?
Atlanta's my last choice.
Wow, that's interesting.
Easily my last choice.
Okay.
I want nothing to do with that team. I want them out of the postseason. I don't care how hurt they are. One, they have the second best staff ERA in baseball. And you're probably going to have to see, you're going to have to see Chris Sale at some point.
At Sale, you'll
which
see at
might
some
be
point.
an auto loss. That dude is unbelievable right now.
If he pitches in the wild card series, you get him in Game 2 and potentially Game 5.
I don't want him at all.
If the series went Game 5.
I don't want to see that guy in the postseason. But bottom line, that's a team that owes you one. So my number one pick is the team that you owe one to. I want Arizona. I'd be totally comfortable with playing that team. By the way, speaking of staff ERA, they have the 27th best pitching staff ERA in baseball this year. Pitching matters the most in the postseason. So you got a team that has not been playing well lately, that has not pitched well really for most of the season. And I know part of that is
best offense in baseball, though, right?
Well, they've got a good offense, but that's also a team. I know when the Phillies see that team on their schedule, they say, guys, if we're not going to get up for this series, what are we going to get up for?
How did they do it during the regular season?
Okay, the regular season
when they saw them on the schedule and had the chance to pay them back.
We've had this conversation. Playoff payback is.
No, I got you, but I mean,
the Eagles fans that celebrated. The Eagles fans that celebrated beating the Chiefs in the regular season last year meant nothing to me.
I got you, but they didn't play them well.
Okay, but
against Arizona,
there's also context to that. It's not just if you play 6 games against a team in the regular season.
I got you.
That's not enough of a sample size to say this team doesn't play this team well. So I want Arizona first. I want the Mets second. Because the Mets pitching hasn't been exceptional this year. And also, Lindor's got a back issue. He's been the main reason that they've been as good as they have been since London. That dude might not play. And if they're down Lindor, who do they have? Are you worried about, and this would be a nightmare, but guys like Brandon Nimmo beating you in a postseason series? I know he's a good player, but the star power just doesn't exist for that team if Lindor's not there, and the pitching doesn't exist for that team. So I'm going Arizona 1, Mets 2, and the rest, whatever, but I don't want the Braves.
Okay, Nate, so just for context, Connor's my 4 and 3 teams, Mets, Arizona, that I don't want, the teams that I don't want most of all, are his 1 and 2.
Right.
That he wants. So
Yes.
I knew that. And now, your answers, and I will tell you right now, his answer's not Arizona, and his answer's not Atlanta.
Wrong, it's Arizona.
Is it really?
Great call, buddy.
I was about to say the Mets just to be different, but I'm always honest with you.
I thought you were going to say, I predicted that Connor was going to say Arizona and that you were going to say Mets or Milwaukee.
My reasoning is exactly what Connor said when it comes to the pitching staff. I know that the Arizona Diamondbacks offense can do a little bit more things, and especially the Phillies, right? The Phillies rely on a lot of pop.
They're like the best team out there in offense.
But look, the Phillies have the better pitching, and the Phillies pitching could hopefully slow down that Diamondbacks offense, where I think this Phillies offense, I know it doesn't sound good coming off of last year, this Phillies offense should be able to tattoo this Arizona Diamondbacks pitching staff in a short series, 5-game series, where you get to start at home. I go Arizona 1, the team that I want the most.
Who's the second?
The New York Mets are the second.
Okay.
So just like Connor. and then it's kind of hard after that. I'll be honest, like I do worry about the Brewers because that bullpen's nasty.
That's a good team.
And bullpen in the postseason, we talk about how the Phillies are one of the more dangerous teams in the playoff picture because of their bullpen. The Brewers have a very, very good bullpen. It's not going to take 7 runs to win a baseball game if you're playing the Milwaukee Brewers, right? The Brewers might only need to score 2 or 3 in order to win. So I tell you Arizona as the number 1. I totally get the fears of it, though. I get it.
I told you this, that a member of the Cubs said to me the other night. I said, and he's confident the Phillies are going to the World Series.
Yeah.
And winning it. And I said, well, what, how could they not lose? How could they not get there? He said if Wheeler has to pitch twice in the NLDS.
Right.
That could trip them up.
Yeah. Interesting.
Got to get out in 4.
By the way, the reason why I don't want the Braves.
They tattoo the Braves.
For sale.
All right. I got you.
That's like literally
I don't have
reason.
to face them once.
Maybe, but
no,
don't even take the chance.
No, you would, unless you go 5, and if you go 5, it's your own fault.
Well, exactly. All right, coming up next, we get to your text messages on today's topics. Are the Eagles players getting enough criticism so far through the first 3 weeks? And if the Phillies, if you were to be able to pick who they played, who would you want? You can text and call on 610-632-0975. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Also, I'll play some from Rob Thompson next. If you're worried about the bye, he talked about that yesterday right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
97.5 The Fanatic. All right, so we're going to get to the text line in a minute, but I want to play one more thing for you. It's been an audio-heavy first 48 minutes of the show. You've heard from Stephen A. Smith, Tim McManus, and that's it. We never got to the Jason Stark clip. My bad, so I got 2 clips for you. Let's first play the Jason Stark audio. We played Jeff Passan last segment. So Jason Stark, Hall of Famer, knows a thing or two about the sport of baseball. He does have a preference on where he would want the Phillies to finish in terms of seeding. Take a listen to him with the best show ever yesterday.
I think it's huge to avoid the coast-to-coast travel in a best-of-5. It's exhausting. The 2 seed still offers the best possible scenario for that, and if it's Padres-Dodgers on the other side of the draw, who would complain, I would actually pick the Padres to upset the Dodgers. I mean, wouldn't you want that too, for somebody else to have to deal with the Dodgers in the best-of-5 and potentially oust them for you? Look, the Phillies will have their hands full no matter who they play, but I still think this is how I would draw it up if I were them. Slide in there in that 2 seed.
I agree with Jason Stark, and I've said it before. The Padres are the team you don't want to face.
Well,
and I think the Padres are more dangerous than the Dodgers.
I also still would not want to necessarily face the Dodgers.
No, I don't necessarily want to face the Dodgers, but it's another thing too. I don't want to travel in the first round. I don't want to be going to Arizona.
That's a great point.
I don't want to go.
West Coast trip's a great point.
That's a lot of travel in a short. Now, hopefully, you win it in 4, and you don't have to come back and play a game.
Right,
a game 5, because the series are set.
Hopefully, you win it in 3.
You could.
Sweet, baby.
You never know. I'm not counting on the way this team has shown us this year. The last thing I'm thinking is this team has the mental focus and everything to be sweeping people.
I don't know, man. Last year's team was not remotely as good as this year's team, and they played the Marlins that wild card series and just absolutely smoked them.
Yeah, that's a 2-gamer. That's a best of 3. You're playing about best of 5.
No.
I'd be shocked to see the sweep. I don't
think I'd be shocked.
They had a chance both last year, the last 2 years, to go to Atlanta and then come back 2 games to none. And in that second game, both times, mental errors and stuff cost them the ability to go. They could have been coming home to just close out the series. They gave up a game.
Yeah, but those are games on the road. You're getting 2 to start the series at the bank, and then you're going with a closeout game with potentially either Sanchez or Nola throwing.
Could be.
I don't think it's crazy to say this team could sweep.
Okay.
Right. All right. And then for those of you who are worried about the first round bye, because there's people that are probably still out there going, oh, man, we've seen the Atlanta Braves struggle, and the Phillies were the team that would beat the team with the bye. Here's the manager himself, Rob Thompson, talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's huge to get these guys some rest, and now we can sort of plan out our pitching for the weekend and make sure that our starters, they're going to have to start Ranger, Wheeler, and Nola, but, we can pull them back a little bit.
How much is it a benefit for you guys to give Zach and Aaron Ranger just some extra innings there, or fewer innings, I should say?
Yeah, it's huge, and we got to be careful because you got to plan it out so that you're not using your entire bullpen. But we'll get there and we'll pull back on them a little bit.
I think it is still good to have. I understand the fears that people have.
I do.
I get it.
I do. I don't. I do have a fear of it because I don't think this is a focused ball club. I don't think that I don't think they play with great focus. I don't think they play with a super high baseball IQ. And I worry about things disrupting routines.
Okay.
And things like that.
Well, during their routine, they weren't focused, according to you, right? The fact that they had been playing every single day, maybe they do need a reset.
Could.
Maybe. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
I don't know. I saw it way too. To me, I don't. I would have less rest than Rob Thompson gives during the course of the year. But hey, he knows his guys.
Hey, maybe it's good for Bryce. Bryce dealing with the wrist and elbow and 7 other injuries probably that we don't know about. JT, we know, has been banged up pretty much all season long.
Elbow scared the hell out of me last night with him doing that elbow routine on the bench.
Yep.
Yeah, he would play one more game the rest of the season for me.
Yeah, and then you
so you really would, you'd say?
I'd give him tomorrow night off. I'd play him Saturday. I'd give him Sunday.
Yeah.
So you really are, Connor. You are taking the Jason Stark. I prefer the 2 seed. I wrote about it 2 weeks ago.
Right.
That I prefer the 2 seed. But you're of the mindset to say, we got the 2 seed. Let's just. Would you shut it down this weekend or not?
I wouldn't completely shut it down. But the other thing you think about, too, is could you beat the Nationals by accident 2 games out of 3?
I think you might.
You probably could.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, look who you're pitching.
Yeah, exactly. So you give those guys 4 or 5 innings. You pull the starters around the 4th or 5th inning, and you give some some random guys days off there. And I don't know, give like 3 starters a game days off.
I'd be fine. I'd be fine if they approach it like that. I really will. I'm absolutely fine if they approach it like that. And by the way, one thing I do know is that I think Thompson has a great handle on understanding what his players want.
Yeah.
And do that. So I think he'll do a good job.
And he'll probably be able to mix around the DH a little bit. Let a couple of guys just swing, right, to continue to see live
What if
pitching.
you do that? Yeah, but
put Schwarber in left.
No, don't play him.
Pull a hamstring.
All right, coming up next, we check the text line. We get your reaction on today's topics at 610-632-0975. And we appreciate all of our listeners, John.
We do.
Every listener, no matter what part of the demographic you are.
Even Nick from South Jersey?
Nick from South Jersey, who may also be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Was Nick Sirianni listening to the show yesterday?
Somebody was at NovaCare.
We will play you some audio coming up next that may tell you that he is. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
On Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 7:10, we are going to play you two clips. One, John from Westchester, and one, Nick from South Jersey. John from Westchester, of course, is John Kincade. Nick from South Jersey is Nick Sirianni.
Big listener to the show, I guess.
It seems like it.
I don't think that's how it happened. I have a theory, and I'll tell you what the theory is after we hear it.
All right, so we'll play that for you coming up at 7:10. But let's check out the text line on our topics today. Are the Eagles players getting enough criticism? Stephen A. Smith talked about this yesterday on First Take. He was saying how, look, Sirianni's obviously has his own issues, his own flaws, but what about some of the players? Saquon Barkley catches the football, they're 3-0. Jalen Hurts, if he cuts down on his league-leading 6 turnovers and his league-leading, how many turnovers? 28 now since week 1 last year.
Worst in the NFL.
Maybe the results are different. The product is different. The Eagles may be a more impressive 2-1 team, or they might be 3-0 because, let's face it, he turned the ball over at the end of that Falcons game. Saquon Barkley, drop or not, Hurts threw a horrible interception at the end of week 2. So are the Eagles players getting enough criticism, or are they getting it, they're just due, which I think we are. I think we are giving them criticism, but obviously Sirianni's been the biggest talking point because he's made probably the biggest bonehead decisions.
He's made himself.
Yeah.
He makes himself the center of attention. And sorry, Nick from South Jersey, that's his intention. He sets out to. When you're mugging for cameras on the sidelines and you're making yourself getting into it with opposing fans, jumping up on the bench to taunt opposing fans, you're a guy who dies to get the attention. You want everybody talking about you. And that's the last thing I want my head coach to do.
Well, or that's what he wants to do.
Yeah,
and
he wants attention.
Not for an attention thing. Maybe he thinks that's best to take the bullet. Maybe that's the way he looks at it. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. And then the Phillies discussion, they're currently the 2 seed. They could still climb up to the 1 seed. Who would you want the Phillies to face in the first round of the playoffs? You have a choice because nothing's locked in. It could be Padres, Mets, Brewers, Diamondbacks, or Braves. We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. All right, Connor, what do we have on the text line from our fine listeners so far this morning on Kincade and Salciunas?
There are a couple of our fine listeners that aren't too happy with you guys today. They're saying, Blaine in Kentucky asked, what are we doing, guys? We're 2-1, looked a lot better with key guys down late last week against a pretty decent team in their building, and you guys are asking if the players are getting enough criticism. We aren't 0-3 or 1-2. We should be 3-0, so let's calm down and enjoy the ride.
Okay, we should be 3-0, and again, why should we be 3-0? It could be Nick Sirianni's bad decision-making. It could have been Saquon Barkley holding on to the football. It could have been Jalen Hurts not throwing an interception.
Yeah, could be that.
That's why.
I mean, it's like the idea that you would look at this and did we not learn our lesson last year, Blaine? The idea that you would look at it and go, guys, we're doing it again. We're 2-1. For God's sakes, we're 2-1. Oh my gosh! If you look at those 3 games and you don't think it needs a little pimple cream, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
And look, I appreciate, but Blaine's an Eagles fan, right? So
I know he is.
Blaine's leaning more positive. I will say something.
We've been very positive about a lot of things.
I will say something.
What's that?
That might rub people the wrong way.
Uh-oh.
Yes, they could be 3-0.
But they're not.
Hold on. Guys, they could be 1-2.
Yes, they could easily.
Guys, they could be 0-3. If the Eagles defense did not ball out in the red zone twice to start the game in Sao Paulo when the Eagles turned the football over twice.
I look at that as I look at the Green Bay game as a game that they won.
All right, fair. So the Eagles could be 1-2.
No question.
We do the whole, they could be 3-0 because we lean positive. We're Philadelphia Eagles fans. We should. But sometimes you got to take a step back, which is part of what we do as our job, right? We look at things from different angles.
Sides.
They could be 1-2.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what's happening. As much as there are people in this fan base that can't move on, there are dueling sides of the fan base right now. There's the group that can't move on from last year, that won't see anything until this team hoists the Lombardi, that makes them believe that a collapse isn't coming. And there's the other side that says, I'm so tired of hearing about last year. Move the hell on and treat this season in a vacuum. And I see both sides.
Okay, now the thing is, though, is where do you lean more?
Well, I mean, I lean more to the treat this season in a vacuum. I'm not as far as saying, we shouldn't have concerns about things, but again, I see last year as a blip on the radar that was as improbable as anything I've ever seen in Philadelphia sports. And I'm not going to look at this compared to that in any way.
And that's fair.
I think that's fair.
If I probably lean more toward this year, even though I go, guys, like you just said, we're having the same conversation we had last year. This year is a totally different year, but this year still has problems.
Right, it does. But if last year hadn't happened and the team was 2-1, we'd be doing what we did last year, which is, hey guys, they're winning football games. They have stuff to work on.
But even if they didn't collapse, right? Hurts was still turning the football over last year.
Yeah.
And he's turning over the football this year.
Totally valid.
Nick Sirianni made poor coaching decisions last year. He's making poor coaching decisions this year. But I get it. Look,
I do get it too, and Connor, I think your point is extremely valid. I think it's extremely valid, and I would understand someone feeling that way.
And I understand where Blaine's coming from, but just be careful because I can easily flip right back onto you. Well, they could easily be 1-2. And I'm not sitting here saying, let's bash the Eagles players. I'm simply asking a question that Stephen A. Smith posed yesterday on ESPN about whether or not players are getting enough credit, because it's all been Sirianni, right? I bet you if we ask Blaine, who's saying, what are we doing here? They're one catch away from 3-0. If I ask Blaine, what's your opinion on Nick Sirianni, he'd probably bash him.
You're right, but I also think the framing of the conversation, the tone of the question, is inherently negative. Are we giving the Eagles players enough criticism? I think it's are we putting too much on Nick Sirianni compared to the players?
Okay.
It kind of sounds like we're trying to find a reason to be mad at the players.
That's not, I don't think that's unfair. All right,
so you want to spin it more positively. Say it again, Connor.
Connor's saying more neutrally.
All right, say it more neutrally for the audience if they'd rather hear this neutral question.
Are we putting too much on Nick Sirianni and not enough on the players for the problems that we've seen with the Eagles through their 2-1 start this year?
Now give out the phone number.
610-632-0975.
And what can you do with that number?
You can call, you can text, you can tell Andrew to stop being an ass to me.
I actually think that is very reasonable and fair what Connor
That's why
just
this
said.
is a team, baby.
I think that's fair and reasonable.
That's why it's the big three.
I think it's fair and reasonable.
I'm just Joel Embiid. I'm out half the time. All right, Connor, what do we have on the text line? Give us one more text, and then we're going to play you John from Westchester, followed by Nick from South Jersey.
All right, Joe from the Northeast talks about Jalen Hurts and his struggles this year. He says, no one is wrong about Jalen yet. He's had one really good year, but the jury is still out on him. He's been the same turnovers machine this year, same as last year. So neither side is wrong yet, and there's valid criticism from both sides.
Yeah, I just don't want to do flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. Right? I was not a believer of Jalen Hurts. I did not believe he would continue to be 2022 Jalen Hurts. You and I, we've talked about that a lot because I thought he was freaking incredible. But what I believed his regression from 2022 to 2023 would be was still better than what I thought he would be, period, in his career. He's outperformed what my expectations were for him. I don't want to do flip-flop, flip-flop. Oh, yeah, you know what? He was really good in 2022, but he's playing the way I believed he would overall.
Okay.
We can always evaluate, but don't wait for him to all of a sudden stink.
And then say, okay.
Or don't wait for him to be 2022 and say, see, I told you so. He might be who he is. A guy that can do a lot of great things and still needs to work on a turnover issue. and needs to read a defense better because that was an issue of his coming out of college was his inability to read a defense.
All those can be true. All those can be true.
Yeah. He might be somewhere. He might be somewhere in the middle.
I think he sort of is. That would be my guess. Is that? But I was very high on him. And I still think he's going to have his best. I'm not moving off it at all. He is going to have his best year ever this year.
He hasn't done anything to stop him from being capable of that through 3 games.
He's going to have his best year ever. He is on pace.
The turnovers.
He is on pace for. He is going to be. I said. In the preseason, we did it for our Instagram. We did it on the show.
Yes.
Every statistical category, this will be his best year ever.
Yeah, even interceptions.
Yeah, it's going to be the highest one.
All right, well, you don't know. It might be, and it might.
But then that's the problem. If he throws more, last year he threw 15 picks. Let's say yardage reached the mark that you want, touchdown he reaches the mark.
That's right, exactly.
But interceptions he throws 17 or 18.
The same? Well, if it's more, that's not going to make me happy, but it'll still be his best year ever.
Even if he turns it over that many times?
Yes, because it will be, because there have been quarterbacks that have done that are in the Hall of Fame. Guys like Brett Favre, who is in the news. And nobody, he's a gunslinger.
All right.
You can't do that for one guy and say not for
the
another.
other. Okay.
Can't do that. Wouldn't be fair.
All right. So yesterday.
Okay.
Who was it? Brendan that texted it to us, or did you text it to us, Connor?
I thought it was Brendan. It wasn't me.
Then it was Brendan. So, Brendan Gunn, our associate producer, who does incredible work behind the scenes with this show.
He does.
So, he does a great job posting a lot of our quotes from our show so that people know exactly what we're talking about. And he posted a quote from you yesterday about our conversation regarding Nick Sirianni and his involvement with the offense. Because remember, we found out that Nick Sirianni is obviously telling Kellen Moore when to go for it. But now, he's picking plays.
He's picking the plays, which is the difference. And I'm fine with Nick Sirianni. Again, I'm totally fine with him saying go for it.
Right.
I just want Kellen to call the plays.
So here is the quote that was tweeted out yesterday. We'll play the audio for you. This was John Kincade yesterday. Again, we're on from 6 to 10. I don't know exactly what time you said this, but it happened at some point between the 6 a.m.
and
10 a.m. window.
He could have been driving it.
Take a listen to what John had to say yesterday during the show.
Nick Sirianni is telling Kellen Moore, you're driving. And then he's calling plays, 6 plays, 7 plays. They're moving down the field. They got 400 and some yards of offense the other day. They're cruising. But at the critical moment, Nick's like, no, stop.
Right.
All right, now give me the keys and let me drive at the most critical part. And Nick Sirianni proceeds to drive cars into ditches.
So that was John Kincade. That was John from Westchester.
And by the way, in retrospect, I think that may have been a little unfair when I said driving into ditches, because it's not like he's been terrible, like with stuff. So I think that might have been a little unfair.
You're right. He's not driving into ditches. He's just driving close to the ditch.
He's getting clunkers,
and then they have to call AAA to pull him out of the halfway ditch they're in.
When Nick Sirianni returns the rental car, it's dented. It's dead.
He's got to pay the insurance.
But in the ditches, which means he's terrible, and he's not terrible.
He's pretty bad, though.
So I'm going to give you that.
He's pretty bad. He's close to a ditch. Maybe you know what? Maybe not ditch. He drove onto the beach. You know how there's those cars that go, you know what?
And then they get stuck.
And then it gets stuck. Yeah,
that could be it.
That's Nick Sirianni. He's driving on the beach, and he doesn't have the right car.
Look, I wanted to reassess and say that might have been a little too much.
Say it with your chest, damn it.
A little too much.
So that was John yesterday. The tweet went out at 7:28, Connor told me. So we're about 24 hours away, 24 hours removed from when you said that.
Right.
Nick Sirianni yesterday spoke in the 2 o'clock hour. So you were listening live during the best show ever. And what's fascinating is, obviously he was going to talk about the play calling, and there was going to be reaction toward him, asked about what Kellen Moore had to say, and Kellen Moore and the collaborative effort, blah, 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 blah. But take a listen to Nick Sirianni's answer and how very specific the answer was.
Yeah, I'm still in there and still, in the past, it's kind of going through the game plan and saying, hey, we're going to do this, 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 and this in these scenarios. Sitting in there listening a little bit more, not running the ship as far as like, hey, I'm driving, we're going to talk about this, I'll lead the direction of the conversation. It's more now I'm sitting passenger seat listening to the conversation. Again, I'm not going to be shy to say, hey, here's what I think in this scenario or here's what I think in that scenario. But it is more, I'm letting Kellen, drive the car.
Here's the quote. I'll read it one more time from you, John. Nick Sirianni is telling Kellen Moore, you're driving. Moore's calling plays, 6 plays, 7 plays. They're moving down the field, and they're cruising. But at the critical moment, Nick's like, no, stop. All right, now give me the keys and let me drive. The quote from Nick Sirianni, I'm sitting passenger seat listening to the conversation. I'm letting Kellen drive the car. Was Nick Sirianni listening to Kincade and Salciunas around this time yesterday? And if he was, Nick, good morning.
Good morning. We love you, Nick.
Go
from
Birds.
South Jersey.
All right, go Birds. Take care of business against Tampa in the monsoon on Sunday. Don't make some bad decisions with 4-down play calling.
You're making him feel unwelcome.
And your chart that goes against other charts.
Here's what I believe happened. I believe the fine public relations team of the Philadelphia Eagles briefed him on every day before he speaks in the microphones. Whether they say it or not, they're lying to you. The players know what's being said. The coaches know what's being said. Whether they listen to us or not, they're briefed on things that are being said. In fact, coaches will get a printout, and I know this happens, and a digital copy of every single thing that's written about their team. And they will also get briefed on, okay, here's what's being discussed today about you. So that way they are just totally prepared. And the Eagles PR team is fantastic. They do a great job of trying to prep him. I think that's what happened. I think somebody sort of, has this died down yet? No. Here's what's being said. Here's just one of the examples. And then he just happened to go right to the example that he was briefed on.
I just find it really interesting. He's
got FanFest tickets, by the way, too, and I don't even know. He's going to Tampa.
We've been telling people, this is the sports station where you're getting legitimate conversation, where we don't make up should you trade A.J. Brown for Patrick Surtain tweets.
Yeah, we're not doing
trades, right?
That's not what we're doing.
No, we have legitimate sports conversation. So it's fascinating that the Eagles are listening to the show, John.
I think that's great, and I do. By the way, I know people around the Eagles that listen to the show.
Damn right.
I know one of your lookalikes in the front office has flat out told me that he catches the show, likes the show.
Well, he probably didn't like me a few years ago.
And by the way, they like the other station too. But they listen because it's their job to listen. And the thing is, I don't think for 1 second that Nick Sirianni gives 2 flips what I know about football, what I think about football, or how I care about football.
You don't know that to be true.
No, I do. I do know.
He's always looking for every advantage.
Yeah, but guess what?
He's looking for every advantage. Maybe we see something in the film,
You know
John.
what? He's listening to this show and he's going, they think I'm a buffoon? Listen to those two.
He hears your breakdowns of the 15-minute videos.
Well,
he's listening to Coach Dan talk to 8-year-olds, and he's thinking that. I think we can handle it.
Okay, that is the truth.
That is a great point.
I never thought of it. Connor, thank you for
Connor, you're having a great day today, man.
Thank you for the backwards.
Look, you got to give him credit. Let's go to Anthony in West Oak Lane. Anthony, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Good morning, fellas.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing? Tunis, John, good luck with beating cancer. And
thank you, buddy.
I agree with Connor, man. In Tunis, I just want to say this is Anthony that went to Chesler Green last year, me and Dad.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah. I hadn't talked to you since you moved over, but I agree with Connor, man. I think we should sit, let this thing play out, and I agree with the turnovers. Like I told Dad yesterday, I can't fight the fight and take up for Jalen right now. I call him a decent quarterback. I had to take him out of the good realm. He's not good to me. He's decent right now until he gets back to playing smarter football.
What do you think it is? Anthony, what do you think it is, though? Do you think it's trying to do too much?
Well, I think he's just like what y'all was saying earlier. He, like me and Dad was talking yesterday intensely, that he's not. He's focusing on one guy. He's getting tunnel vision instead of doing like McNabb used to do. Spread the ball around, hit the open man, and just get rid of whoever gets open. Get rid of the ball. Take what you get. Let the defense take what they give you, and then you can go for the home run when you get the 1-on-1s. But stop trying to force it to AJ. Stop trying to force it to Smith. Stop.
Okay. And here's the hard thing, Anthony. We appreciate the call. Great hearing from you, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Great hearing from you. Here's the hard thing. And I go back to last year, and I remember you were talking about this a lot, when I was still doing middays, about A.J. Brown getting the ball, probably a little, maybe force-feeding the ball to A.J. Brown, right?
And it was force-fed, yeah.
But it's A.J. Brown.
I got you.
Right? And so far this year, without A.J. Brown, it's been Devontae Smith. I know Goddard had the big day. Don't forget, Goddard, Devontae Smith missed time last week. He may have a little bit of tunnel vision. And I think that's being coached out of him a little bit by Kellen Moore. And I think he can get better at it.
So do I. I mean,
absolutely.
I'll never forget Jalen in that Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
That's the guy that's in my head.
All right, is Nick Sirianni listening to Kincade and Salciunas? You can climb in 610-632-0975. We'll get to more text messages coming up. Also, the Eagles injury report came out yesterday. Uh-oh. We'll tell you about it next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. On Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 8:10, Rob Motti will be joining the show. Our old buddy from here at 97.5 The Fanatic. He's been with the Associated Press for a while now. He's now the senior writer and reporter for the Associated Press covering the NFL. And, of course, he lives in Florida. He lives in the Tampa area.
He's got a hurricane bearing down on him, too.
Yeah, good.
And he's kind enough to join us.
I know, we have listeners in Florida. So
we do.
Hunker down. I'm sure we have listeners in the Atlanta region as well. So
I know we do. It's a strange path. This is having lived in Atlanta for 26 years. It's going to hit 60 to 80 mile an hour winds by the time it gets to Atlanta.
Right.
I mean, we've had that before. I've lived through that before, but this is surprising. For our Florida people, be careful.
Yeah, please be careful.
And the airports are closed.
Yourselves.
So even our buddies like at Philly Sports Trips.
Yeah.
It's the airport is closed. It's a mess.
Hurricanes are no joke, man. I did a lot of research.
No, it's
so it's a shame. Our buddy Vince from Philly Sports Trips, their flight leaves today.
And at least nowhere to fly.
So the Tampa airport is closed.
2 a.m. it closed.
If you are traveling down, because let's face it, there's people that travel without. You should travel with Philly Sports Trips. So there's people that don't. They travel on their own. The airport's closed.
No, it's
Tampa.
Closed at 2 a.m. And every airport surrounding it south of it is already closed.
Yeah, so, I don't know if you are still planning on traveling. If you are and you were planning on flying into Tampa, you got to look for another airport and, try to find a way to get some of your money back if you can.
The airlines will do a good job. This is one where you get all your money back.
Well, I mean, if you bought tickets to the game, right, you want to try to sell them.
That's going to be hard.
It's going to be tough. All right, so the Eagles injury report came out. Speaking of tough, it's not pretty. We're going to talk more about this, obviously, tomorrow on a Football Friday. But the injury report came out yesterday. A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, and Devontae Smith. A.J. still with the hamstring. Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith with the concussions. They did not participate in practice yesterday. Mekhi Becton with the hand injury said he tore a ligament. He was a limited participant, so it looks like he'll be a go Sunday against the Buccaneers. Landon Dickerson, Darius Slay also participated. Landon Dickerson was a limited participant with a wrist injury. I didn't see anything Sunday. I know he got rolled up on early in the game, but I didn't see anything with the wrist. He's a limited participant. Darius Slay, good sign, full participant, following the cheap shot that he took on the sideline last week against the New Orleans Saints. But the two big ones, Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith, with the concussions that took place this past Sunday, not a good sign that they have not participated in practice.
It's a great sign, though. And just to balance that, the great sign is that with Lane Johnson went down, they didn't miss a beat. In fact, they were perfect.
Yeah, with Fred Johnson.
Now, Todd Bowles is going to scheme to exploit those guys. He's going to put so much pressure on those guys to succeed. When you have a week to prepare for the fill-ins, it's a lot harder for the fill-ins to perform to that level.
Yeah, because you can see the weaknesses of the fill-ins.
But if they give you 80% of what they gave you last week, I think you're going to be really, really happy.
Right, and then you can obviously scheme the offense in a way to get the ball out quick.
Absolutely.
And if there's a monsoon happen, I don't know what the weather is for Sunday. Have you seen it?
There's still rain in the forecast.
All right, but they're out of the thick of it.
Oh
right?
no! It's way past. It'll
be way all right.
Oh, it's way past.
But
this thing is blowing through very, very quickly.
Right, but it's still gonna be wet and rainy, and so maybe a good day for the ground attack. Good thing you have a strong offensive line that can push, a great running back in Saquon Barkley, and Hurts can do things with his legs as well.
And a team that is terrible
against
in
run
defense.
Yeah, you said that yesterday.
So they're not good. Oh, by the way, Sunday now it's looking dry.
Oh, okay.
Like
mostly cloudy, cloudy and very humid, with a thunderstorm, 88 degrees.
Sounds like Florida.
With that being said, you might still be running the football.
No, but
because if A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are out, your leading receiver in terms of depth chart is Jahan Dotson. You got Johnny Wilson. They'll probably elevate John Ross from the practice squad. Speaking of Jahan Dotson, here's Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about what could be WR1 on Sunday.
Thing I wrote the most is like, man, he catches everything. He catches everything. He catches everything. And then he's just got this great ability to get in and out of breaks. I think Devontae has this great ability to get in and out of breaks, and they remind me of each other as far as at the top of the route of how they get out of how they can transition from full speed back down the stem or changing directions. And so those are the things that really pop up. And as I see with Jahan, just this unbelievable ability to catch the ball wherever it is. And we've seen that in practice. And then also just the shiftiness.
Well, quarterback's got to throw in the football.
Yeah. I mean,
and he might Sunday he might have to. Right? It might be his number one receiver. He'll have Dallas Goedert, obviously, and Saquon Barkley.
And I do think I like what was suggested by, I don't know if it was you or Connor earlier on in the week, the idea that at times you maybe put Saquon Barkley in the slot and you have Kenny Gainwell in the game.
Right.
There's things you can do, but it's going to be, I'm looking for this. How about this? The Eagles game on Sunday, I'll guarantee a win if this happens. Oh, my God. If the final score is on the board before 3:55.
So they're just running out the clock at that point.
That they run the clock the whole day.
Oh,
that they're running clock. So at 3:55 in the afternoon, before we even get to 4 o'clock, I'm going to tell you it's an Eagles win.
Okay. Because that means they've been running the football.
They've been running the ball, and they've been keeping it away from Tampa. And Baker Mayfield's not able to run around and scramble and do a bunch of his stuff. And Baker, as much as people mock him, he's done a real nice job as a quarterback. He's more than an adequate NFL starter.
Yeah, Cleveland probably looks back at that going,
we made a mistake.
We made a mistake.
I think they know they made a mistake.
By the way, our man JG, who checks in every day, we appreciate you listening, brother.
What's up, JG?
Even though we go back and forth about the Sirianni stuff.
Okay.
He said, I thought Lane Johnson was sick because they said he was throwing up on the sideline. I was confused by that, too. It sounded like he was sick before the game, but he got concussed during the game.
He was sick. Someone did say that. He was not feeling great Sunday morning.
Right.
He got a concussion during the game.
Right, so he was already sick,
and then
got concussed.
And then that's just bringing it on.
And that's why when you saw him walking off the field, he looked horrible, dude.
He looked gray.
Yeah, he looked horrible.
And that's not good.
He was sick before the game started.
Correct.
But got a concussion during the game. All right, what do we got in the text line, Connor? You can text the show at 610-632-0975.
So we have people checking in on the Nick Sirianni conversation and what he needs to do as far as driving the car. I think this is a great analogy here from Jerry C. in East Falls, saying Sirianni is like the general contractor on a job site. He needs to say we need these types of faucets or these types of pipes, and then let the people in charge of procuring those items, like who's in charge of plumbing, get the right stuff. The coordinators are the experts who execute the job. Sirianni needs to, at most, lay out the plan for those guys.
Yeah, and that's what he should be doing. I think that's what he is doing. The problem is he then goes, you know what? Give me that socket.
Yeah, you see, that's what he does.
You know what?
Give
me that pipe. Let me show you how to really lay
Wait
pipe.
a minute. You're not,
I'm sorry?
What? You're not, wait a minute, whoa. You guys you're not mudding that drywall right.
Yeah.
Come on.
Let me take care of it.
Let me show you how it's done at the most critical spot.
No, you know what? The job's done. And then he goes, hold on a second. Let me take that shingle off the roof and put a blue one on it.
And this is all a byproduct of the idea that Nick Sirianni got neutered this summer, this offseason.
Right.
And now he's trying to say, well, I can point to all these things that I am doing and that are me. So far, it's been a disaster.
Right.
What he's doing has been a disaster.
It has been. By the way, I have a neighbor.
Okay.
I don't know all my neighbors. I'm not like you. You're much more.
I'm not. No, I'm not. That's just funny you put it that way. I'm really not.
Oh, okay.
I wave to people.
You wave to people. Well, yeah.
I wave to people.
Some people I just don't see.
I know the neighbors I really love. Yes.
So I have a neighbor not far from my house, but not on the same street. But I always pass it, walking the dog, walking coop. I think he's a plumber. He's got a truck where on the back he says been laying pipes since whatever year. It's a great truck.
Yeah,
man.
but I would think that some females would not hire that plumber.
Well, maybe they would. I don't know what he looks like. Maybe they go, you know what?
Maybe, yeah.
Not to pay.
Never thought of it that way.
All right, coming up next, We get more of your reaction on the text line at 610-632-0975. Don't forget, Rob Motti joins us at 8:10. And also coming up next, it doesn't necessarily affect the Phillies in a way you would think, but Major League Baseball needs to address something. I get what you're saying, John, what we talked about before the show, but this is probably a problem that they shouldn't have.
Interesting. I can't wait.
I'll tell you what next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
The final week of September.
.47 on Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning. Connor, give us a number. 3. Call number 3 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. Call number 3 will win our second of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack, 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open till midnight or later. Participating locations only, 215-263-0975. Now, I'm going to throw a curveball your way, John and Connor.
Okay.
Because this goes off of the show sheet. And I know we're a very structured show.
We are, but I like it.
But sometimes we need to have life discussions as well. So do me a favor, because this is Sports Talk Radio. Hit us with a text, Connor, on any of our topics today. Our Eagles discussion. Are the Eagles players deserving of a little bit more criticism? Should we not put it all on Nick Sirianni? Because it has been Nick Sirianni radio pretty much the last 2 weeks here. Despite the Eagles, some certain players also struggling, like Bryce Huff, we all know. Jalen Hurts and his turnovers. Saquon Barkley, everyone says, well, if Saquon catches the ball, the Eagles are 3-0. All right, well, Saquon dropped it. So are some of the players deserving of a little bit more heat to take some of the heat off of Nick Sirianni? That's question 1. And question 2, for the Phillies, they did clinch a bye. If you could pick who they would face in round 1 out of any of the wild card teams that then advance to the second round in the NLDS, who would that be? 610-632-0975. What do we got on the text line? And then I got to ask you a life question.
Jay from Westchester brings up the Phillies conversation and says, with the Braves, third time could be the charm for them, and I absolutely do not want that to be a slogan for that team. Chris Sale is unbelievable. Reynaldo Lopez has pitched damn near perfect against the Phillies this year.
Yeah.
I'm okay playing every single team outside of the Atlanta Braves.
Now, the lineup is obviously banged up, but those two pitches, if your bats go cold, look, we saw what happened when your bats go cold twice last year. You lost.
We saw it.
And they have Chris Sale's the Cy Young. I know, there's gonna be a push for Zach Wheeler here locally. Chris Sale's the Cy Young.
I mean,
he's gonna win the Triple Crown, of pitching.
Bryce Harper can say anything he wants.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Sale, most wins, strikeouts, and best ERA in the National League.
Every Phillies fan should just acknowledge it.
Yeah,
he's the best pitcher.
It doesn't mean Zach Wheeler didn't.
And it doesn't mean Zach's
He'll
not
probably
great.
finish second.
Right, Zach's great.
He got robbed of the Corbin Burn ones, but that's another one. Conversation for another day. All right, I have a life question for you guys.
Okay.
So our own Haley T. Simon, who runs our YouTube feed, does a tremendous job.
She does do a great job. She gets all that stuff up there so you can watch it in segments and things like that.
She's got a big day today. Date number 2.
Oh, yes.
With an individual.
Right.
So I asked her, I was like, what was date number 1? And I didn't realize this was a date. She recently went to Fogo de Chão, which is an awesome place to go.
Oh, it's awesome.
I went with my buddies around the holidays. Chrissy said, hey, go have a boys' night. So it was steak and
it's a great
and
stuff.
Booze.
It's a lot of
That's the most alpha dog thing in the world. Just steak and booze.
It's a lot of
hours.
It's a lot of eating for a girl on a first date, though. It's because women usually, my wife, she likes to eat appetizers.
Yes.
And before, I never saw my wife order an entree until we were married.
Oh, wow.
She would get a salad and an appetizer. She never ordered an entree.
That's crazy.
And so it was just how she... Now, a lot of women are very conscious on dates of how they eat. And I would think guys are too. Because,
so I was about to ask. We're not women. Believe it or not, the three of us, me, John, and Connor, we are men.
Some feminine qualities around this show, I will tell you that much.
But we are men.
Men.
My question, you as the male in this situation, how much are you eating on a first date at an all-you-can-eat steak place?
Oh, it's a great question.
When she told, I didn't realize that was the first date. I would be terrified to look like a pig.
Yes. And I would be very much, you're eating with your boys at Fogo de Chão.
I'm crushing food.
And I guarantee you that there are probably the manners at the table are not as good as they would be at, you're going to one of the finest steakhouses in town on it. You guys are sitting around. There's people using hands for stuff. And,
oh my God, yeah. The green card is flipped at all times.
Exactly.
Like, keep on
Never
bringing
turns,
the food.
baby.
Yeah.
You got to be careful when you're on a date. You want to put the best foot forward.
So you go to Fogo de Show where it's like it's known as the all-you-can-eat thing. Like make it worth the money because you're paying it. It's a decent bill at the end of it. How do you control? Like,
I don't know.
How do you contort yourself?
Cousin Matt says Fogo is a crazy first date.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
That's a crazy first date
It is,
choice.
but the date happened, right?
It did.
I'm curious. I did
And
not.
there's
I
gonna
did
be
not
another
ask
date.
Haley because I didn't want to have the conversation. I didn't want there to be any stain on the conversation. I don't know how much he did eat. I have no idea. I want to know from you guys. I think I would eat what would end up being a normal meal.
Yeah.
Maybe a little overboard. Maybe because I paid for it.
And you're using utensils. You're cutting everything with the knife.
Yeah, I'm not eating
not
the way
chewing
I
off
normally
the fork.
like I did with the boys.
Right.
Or when my parents took me when I was 20, I was like, yeah, let's eat as much food. I'm a broke college kid. Let me eat as much food as I can possibly get.
There's a tough thing because back in the day, I accidentally went to a Flyers game with a girl, and I didn't realize it was Dollar Dog Night, and it was the first time going. And there was part of me that's like, man, I can't just like crush a crazy amount of hot dogs. But if you only get 2, she might look at you and say, well, this dude's obviously holding back. What is he, a wimp or something? I want to see how, I feel like 2 is like, oh, he's clearly self-conscious about how much he's going to eat. So you have to eat, I would eat like 10% more than the normal portion size at a regular restaurant.
Yeah, you got to eat a little bit more because you're paying for it, and that's what that place is all about,
Absolutely.
right? It's eat. But then again, you don't want to look like a pig. Like,
No, I
don't want, like.
By the way, that young man, I could have taken him under wing. That's not a good first.
I don't want to leave
That's not good.
the restaurant like, oh man, I don't think I'm going to eat again for a week.
Yeah, that's
on a
it.
first date.
You're waddling out of the place.
I had a great time with you tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
More importantly, your breath.
Well,
My gosh.
Well,
Does that place does your breath smell that
They have
bad?
the garlic.
Yeah, you got
they have
everything.
the
You got
garlic
everything,
crusted.
I don't know how smell
Oh, no, they have the
works, so.
garlic crusted, everything.
Oh,
yeah.
everything, yeah.
Your breath is going to be toxic.
when you're eating 8 different things,
and all
right?
that meat going into your body.
Yeah, knock out the
sweats?
Uber driver.
That's terrible.
Tough first date.
That's a tough choice. That's a dumb choice for a
But
first date.
what would
Just
you
being
do
honest.
if you're sitting down as the male on the first date? You suggested this place. You're probably picking up the tab. I hope he did.
Better have.
How are you handling yourself at the table? I would like people to chime in on this at 610-632-0975.
I'm eating a little more than a normal
Than
meal.
a normal meal, but you can't go overboard,
you
right?
cannot go. You cannot. If we're all sitting there, all of us, we got B-gun and we're
Right.
sitting there, we're eating like hogs.
But then part of me, I get home and I'm like, damn, I really wish I ate like 17 more pieces.
Feels like you
of
almost
steak.
wasted money, right?
Exactly.
No, you did waste money. First thing I said to Haley, he wasted money on you.
Would love your input on this. 610-632-0975. Rob Motti from the Associated Press and, of course, formerly here at 97.5 The Fanatic down in Tampa. He joins us coming up at 8:10 to talk Eagles Bucs. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05 and a whole lot more. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic. Kelly Green Cash.
All right, your next chance to win $1,000 is right now by texting the keyword RISE, R-I-S-E, RISE. You had 15 minutes to enter it. 3 different ways you can do it via the text, 45911, Fanatic app, or 97.5thefanatic.com. Again, the keyword RISE, R-I-S-E. One random entry wins $1,000 in this company-wide contest. Winners will get a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Complete rules can be found at 97.5thefanatic.com. And it's all sponsored by Rand Spear, the accident lawyer. Good luck.
This is Kincade and Salciunas, Philadelphia Sports Talk. 97.5 The Fanatic.
It is 8:03 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on a wonderful day. Maybe not so much weather-wise outside, but a wonderful day. We found out that Nick Sirianni listens to the show, right?
Yes, we did. Or he's briefed on what's going on in the show.
Come on, man. He's listening to the show.
I think he may be.
He's trying. Look, he's driving in. He goes, you know what? This is the sports talk show I want to listen to, and I can't blame him.
Well, I would imagine he's not hearing stupid, would you say, trade proposals?
Yeah, A.J. Brown for Patrick Surtain? Who's doing that?
He's not doing that. Not name us your 4 favorite Eagles from when half the audience wasn't alive.
In case people don't know what we're talking about, can we play both clips again? We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas in a minute. And then Rob Motti will be joining us coming up at 8:10 to give an inside look on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Eagles-Bucs matchup this Sunday. But yesterday morning, around 7:30, John Kincade had this to say about Nick Sirianni and how his fingerprints are on the Eagles' offense in the way that he's doing it.
Nick Sirianni is telling Kellen Moore, you're driving. And then he's calling plays, 6 plays, 7 plays. They're moving down the field. They got 400 and some yards of offense the other day. They're cruising. But at the critical moment, Nick's like, no, stop.
Right.
All right, now give me the keys and let me drive at the most critical part. And Nick Sirianni proceeds to drive cars into ditches.
So that was John around 7:30 yesterday morning. Fast forward to 2 o'clock in the afternoon when Nick Sirianni is at his press conference and said this.
Yeah, I'm still in there and still, in the past, it's kind of going through the game plan and saying, hey, we're going to do this, and this in these scenarios. Sitting in there listening a little bit more, not running the ship as far as like, hey, I'm driving, we're going to talk about this, I'll lead the direction of the conversation. It's more now I'm sitting passenger seat listening to the conversation. Again, I'm not going to be shy to say, hey, here's what I think in this scenario or here's what I think in that scenario. But it is more, I'm letting Kellen, drive the car.
Interesting. He said, I'm just listening to the conversation. Which conversation is he listening to? Kellen Moore on the headset or Kincade and Salciunas? He might be listening to the podcast during the game for all we know.
I don't think he is, but we appreciate it for everything, all the listening that Nick and every other listener gives us.
Yes.
That was just that's spooky. That's a spooky thing that he's figuring that out.
Show.
It is. It's
Nicky from South Jersey.
Nicky from South Jersey is listening, and I hope he's listening because I've given him some great advice. But as I say, Nick Sirianni would just chuckle and go, "Those buffoons think they know more football than I do. Come on."
Well,
some things I do. I know to run the ball on 3rd and 3
when you're wrong
when the other team
maybe
has no timeouts left. I know to at least do that.
All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
What's up, boys? So we have tough times in Philadelphia here from time to time with our sports teams, but it could always be worse, especially when you look at what's going on in Oakland right now with the Athletics.
Yep.
They played their final home game at Oakland Coliseum last night. And as expected, the fans were a little bit upset with the way things have been handled. Here's what it sounded like near the end of the game. Obviously, they have their thoughts on the ownership, but there were also some very funny moments from it. So there was an employee with the Athletics who got a discount code being an employee of the team, who decided he was going to tweet out the code so that everybody could get his discount. So that was done. And also there were tweets that somebody stole a seat and there were 6 security guards chasing him around outside the building. So a lot of demonstrations there in Oakland.
And the stealing of the seat is interesting because there's a like an independent. I don't think it's like the indie league, like the Camden River Sharks.
Right.
But there's a baseball team that's trying to play in the Coliseum next year.
The Oakland Bees, I think.
Something like that. They're going to play in the Coliseum, and they tweeted out, "Hey, can you please return those chairs? We're still playing there next year."
No.
Now I'm going to say this because sometimes it's fair to have the conversation.
Okay.
I think that owner's horrible. And I think it's terrible that he's leaving the Coliseum and not rebuilding in Oakland, but going to Vegas.
Okay.
But let me just say this. 15th of 15th. 15th of 15th. 15th of 15th. 15th of 15th. Year they make the playoffs. 11 of 15th. 10 of 15th when they made the playoffs. 13th of 15th when they made the playoffs. 14 of 15. 14. This is the attendance in the American League.
And do you know that the Oakland A's have been to the postseason more times as many times in the last 7 years as your Philadelphia Phillies have?
Yeah. The year they went.
I'd feel no. Sorry, by the way, I've been to this stadium. I've been to this stadium for football and twice for baseball. It is a dump.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a dump. This is like the old vet.
It's the vet.
And it's still alive. It's terrible. I feel no sympathy, though, for the fans who abandoned that team.
They made the playoffs 3 straight years in 2012 through 2014. They won 94 games in one year, 96 in the other, 88 in the third. Their attendance went from 12th the year one to 9th in year two, where they won 96 games, and then it dropped to 10th the next year. Like, that's the problem.
And they made the playoffs 3 consecutive years, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
They're not a terrible franchise either.
It just makes me think about what a final game, hopefully it never comes to this, but a final game in Philadelphia would be like if a team got moved.
I remember people stealing chairs at the vet.
Calling the National Guard. And that was just
but at least they stayed in Philly. Right, exactly.
We're trying to steal chairs.
Yeah.
Speaking of people leaving, we got a retirement announcement this morning.
Yes, we did.
Derek Rose hangs it up. And one of the ultimate, what if careers.
Absolutely.
When you look back at Derek Rose's career, what are your guys' thoughts on it?
One of the favorite highlight reels I would ever watch was Derek Rose early Chicago Bulls years. That guy was so much fun to watch. And he ended up actually becoming a good veteran in the NBA. He was actually still putting up decent numbers. He wasn't going to win anything, but he became a decent veteran after all the injuries. But to Connor's point, one of the biggest what-ifs, he was one of my favorite players to watch because of his athleticism and his talent. And let's face it, the Sixers win that playoff series because both him and Joakim Noah got hurt.
He's on an all what-if team.
Yes.
On the all what-if team.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
And my first thought is you hope Embiid's not on that team either one day down the road.
Right. Well, Embiid's had a lot more health than he's had, though.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. I mean, Derek Rose was missing seasons.
Feels so terrible for him.
Yeah, it's a shame. But, he still ended up having a decent career. It's just obviously how much money did he end up losing because of all those injuries that just kind of happened. It's not like he was doing anything bad. It's not like he wasn't taking care of his body. It's just the way he played was so intense and so fresh. It was Iverson-esque, right? The athletic ability and the fearlessness, which is probably what leads to a lot of the injuries.
I'm always going to remember that he failed the ACT 3 times below the threshold, and then they paid somebody to take the SAT for him.
Yeah, that's why. That's why that program got into a little bit of trouble.
I got to tell you, that's bad. I don't know what you did in school.
Play basketball, man.
No, great school. Great school.
Play basketball.
High school.
AAU. All right, joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. One of the nicer people that work in this sports media world, and of course used to work here at 97.5 The Fanatic, flew down south and said, you know what, I'm going to continue covering the NFL, but in Florida. That, of course, Rob Motti. Rob, good morning, man. How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How are you today?
We are doing great.
We're hoping you're safe and that the hurricane shutters are ready.
Yeah, that's first things first. How are you guys doing? How are you guys getting prepared for this?
Yeah, so far so good, man. It's just part of being down in Florida in September. Thankful that we're in a good spot. No evacuation necessary for us, so we're okay. Just thinking about all the people who have to uproot and move around and doing all that stuff. So it's tough. It's tough.
So, well, good luck with everything, man. We're thinking about you. And I know, you're the AP senior NFL writer and insider, so you know the entire league. But, of course, you are living in Florida, living in that Tampa area, so you have a little bit of a closer look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than we do here in Philadelphia. So we want to start talking about this matchup a little bit. Obviously, the weather might be a factor, but even playing surface, right? Let's just start there. Even playing surface. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers so far through 3 weeks in 2024?
Yeah, first week of the season, guys, they get a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and Todd Bowles has always been tough on rookie quarterbacks, his first career start, and they do what they're supposed to do. They take care of business. And then they go to Detroit and what's an emotional revenge game type matchup, the team that knocked them out of the playoffs. And I thought they really asserted themselves nicely there. Surprised a lot of people the way they played. Baker Mayfield had a great game. Defense stepped up, banged up defense, missing guys, banged up offense, just missing players. And then now they're off to a 2-0 start. And here's the problem. Suddenly now they think they've accomplished something. They think that they're a great football team that can just show up and beat the Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback who's 0-2. And they absolutely laid an egg. They were terrible last week against Denver, still beat up, still banged up, a lot of injuries. But what concerned me from a Buccaneers standpoint is when you hear players like Baker Mayfield talk about lacking fire and other guys talking about not being ready, that calls into question leadership. Like, how can you show up for a football game at 2-0, haven't won any Super Bowls? That's 4 years ago with Tom Brady. This is a new team, new everything, and think that you can beat a Sean Payton coached football team. Sean Payton's had Todd Bowles' number when he was in New Orleans, and it showed. It reflected in their performance out there. So this kind of a big game for the Buccaneers is show who you are. What is your identity? Are you going to be that team that started hot? And what suddenly, guys, I think the NFC South is no longer looked upon as 8 or 9 wins is going to get you in the playoffs. The Saints are a good football team. The Atlanta Falcons are coming on. So it's going to take 9 or 10 wins at least to win the NFC South. So this is a big week. Now, that same emotion that they went to Detroit with, they know they're going to expect from the Eagles, who got knocked out of the playoffs, and we know how ugly that went for the Birds last year. So they're expecting that this week. They're missing some guys. Antoine Winfield, their all-pro safety. Vita Vea, their star nose tackle, may or may not play. Elijah Cansey, their second-year defensive tackle, he may not play. So it's going to be tough on the Buccaneers against this Eagles team.
One thing I know about my old college classmate Todd Bowles is that he's got tried and true methods that he believes in, and he's going to go after it again. He's had great success against Jalen Hurts. The right side of the offensive line looks like it's going to be at least potentially manipulated for the Eagles. He's not going to have his top 2 wide receivers most likely. They're going to be able to focus on Saquon Barkley, but can they stop him?
Yeah, that's a great point. Todd Bowles knows how to attack, be aggressive, take advantage of weaknesses. And I asked him yesterday, guys, because we know there's more on Jalen Hurts' plate this year. He's got more responsibility at the line of scrimmage. Jason Kelsey's not there, and I know that's been talked about quite a bit. And Todd said he hasn't seen any kind of drop-off. He thinks that Jalen's doing a great job picking up the calls, picking up the blitzes. So the Buccaneers, if you're going into this game and there's no Devontae Smith, there's no A.J. Brown, you're going to focus on Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert. And the Eagles are just going to have to match up and try to win those battles. It's a little bit harder if you don't have Lane Johnson. It's a little bit harder if you're missing the guys who you are going to go to battle with up front and just try to win those one-on-one wars. It's going to help the Eagles if Vita Vea and Elijah Cansey aren't playing. If they're out, you can run the football on the Buccaneers. And there were the Broncos had some success last week on the ground. Bo Nix ran a little bit, made some plays. We know Jalen can do that. And I think this is a week where you're going to need Jalen to do more of that. We haven't seen him through the first 3 weeks. He's kind of picked his spots. This may be a game where you need Jalen to go for 80, 90, or 100 yards because you're lacking so many guys around him. But somebody's got to step up, whether it's Jahan Dotson, whether it's Johnny Wilson. Like, it's crazy to even say these names. But, guys, I go back to an era of Eagles football where they won must-win games, and their wide receivers were Greg Ward and Robert Davis and Deontay Burnett, and I can't even remember who was the other guy. This is even before the Travis Fulgham became a superstar for 4 weeks era. So you remember that at the end of 2019.
Yeah, it was when they were 5-7 and they won the 4 straight and got to the playoffs.
Yeah, and they had it was like Josh Perkins and all of these. So they've been able, now different team and but we've seen where Eagles football can win and be successful, and they still got more talent. You still got Saquon Barkley, you got Dallas Goedert, you got Jalen Hurts. I think you got to go out there and whatever it is, believe in your scheme and find a way, and I think they're going to do it.
Now, can Jalen Hurts do it? And I asked this for a reason, because he's obviously had his struggles against Todd Bowles in the past. What do you expect Sunday that Todd Bowles could throw his way that's clearly worked in their previous matchups?
Yeah, although the Eagles did win the one game, remember last September, they beat them. They pounded the ball on the ground. I think they had a 9-minute drive to close that game out. So Jalen they've had some very little bit of success, but they did win that game. I think Todd Bowles is going to have to he's going to have to come after Jalen and pick his spots, because without AJ and Devontae, you can now focus more in on making Jalen Hurts beat you in the air. So I'm expecting Todd Bowles to get it as aggressive as he's ever been, force the Eagles to have to win the game in the air, try and shut down Saquon, try to take Dallas Goedert out of this game. And if Antoine Winfield doesn't look like he's going to play, that's going to help Goddard. At least they still got Levante Davis. They do have Levante David. They do have some good linebackers, playmaking linebackers, some ability there. But this is a game where I wish you could see both sides with all their pieces, because it would be so much better of a matchup if you got AJ and you got Devontae and you got all those injured Buccaneers, because it's better football. I hate seeing football games where teams are missing important key star players, but that's what it is. That's the world of the NFL we're in now. I think there's like 100 offensive linemen on injured reserve. It's some crazy astronomical number, and we're 3 weeks into the season, guys. It's going to continue to be this way. And towards by the end, it's not who's the best team, it's who's the healthiest team and has been able to navigate most of these injuries.
Last thing, Rob, just curious to get your thoughts on Nick Sirianni through the first 3 weeks. It's been talked about a lot here in Philadelphia.
No way. Yeah. Sounds, I bet, right? No, go ahead.
Well, what do you think? I mean, the decision-making, the stuff he said, he's backed it up in the press conference. I believe in this. It's my conviction. Then he follows up with the next press conference saying, I don't have to talk about this anymore with you guys. Like, what have you made of Nick Sirianni through 3 weeks?
Oh, man, Andrew, John, I look at this from a distance and I go, it's exactly what we expect of the scrutiny of Nick Sirianni coming off of last year, the way it ended, and the way that this season was entered upon is he's the CEO head coach. So if you're the CEO head coach, you got the defensive coordinator doing his job, the offensive coordinator doing his job, and then all of a sudden Nick is taking the blame on a 4th and 1 at the end of the half that doesn't pan out. It's saying it's his call. I don't know if he made the call or Kellen Moore made that call.
He says he made it.
Yeah, he says he made it.
And Kellen says he made it.
I think there's the possibility where Nick wants the blame on him and the credit on Kellen. So I wouldn't rule out. He says he made it. Kellen says he made it. I wouldn't rule out that Nick is going to take the blame anytime something on 4th down doesn't work. And if it works, hey, that was a great scheme, great design by Kellen. Great guys we put into this position. It's hard to imagine Kellen Moore is calling plays from the 3 to the 1, right, as you're driving, whatever it may look like, and then suddenly Nick steps in and says, hey, I got this one.
I think it's stranger. I think it's stranger to believe that doesn't happen when both guys say it happens. Both guys said it happened.
So it's very likely that it did happen, but I also wouldn't rule out that they're going to continue to, or Nick's going to continue to want to take the blame anytime it doesn't work out. I'll be curious to see. what it looks like this week when they're going to miss on a fourth down at some point, and Nick's going to say, do you think Nick at any point is going to say that was Kellen's call?
Yes.
That was Kellen.
Yeah.
I think he's going to say it's collaborative.
Oh, yeah, he always says that because he's
right?
word salad. That's what he is. It's
collaborative. We've all had input. We all have these plays that we like in certain situations that we discussed all week. But Nick, who made that call? Oh, that's on me. It's going to be that's on me. That's on me. So it's a unique situation right now. And anytime it doesn't work, everybody's going to question it. The one I didn't like was right before the 4th and 11, 60-yard field goal attempt was, why not run the football and get it 5 yards closer? If you know you're going to kick a 60, try to get it to a 55.
Absolutely.
Right? Just run the ball and do that. But the scrutiny's going to be there. I know what Philly's like. You guys are going to be all over it, and deservedly so. And this is the way. This is what the Eagles' situation is this year, and with a head coach who's kind of taken that step back and is overseeing the entire process. But I don't imagine, guys, any time where it's going to be a failed fourth down or a failed anything where Nick's going to point the finger at someone else.
Well, you're not far removed from your days of sports talk radio, so you know what it's all about.
Thank you, buddy.
We appreciate it, man. Stay safe down there, all right? Stay safe, okay?
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, there he is, Rob Motti from the Associated Press on the Comcast Business Hotline. All right, coming up next, speaking of Jalen Hurts against Todd Bowles, we have some clips to play for you. Nick Sirianni talked about it yesterday, as did Jalen Hurts himself. So hear from Sirianni and Hurts on the Todd Bowles defense and how he's had success against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense. And also, we'll get text messages on today's topics, including how much you eat at the all-you-can-eat steakhouse on a first date.
I've heard from my single little cousins, too.
All right. So I want some responses on that because this is a big topic, man. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Room tossed, and I caught.
That was a dot, dude. If Jalen Hurts needs a backup, if we want to move on from Kenny Pickett.
Connor, that was impressive.
And I know if I say caught with my mouth, it'll be on the Friday best show ever.
I think that was
pipe plant on there anyway.
It was at least 8.5 feet, Connor, and it was swish.
Perfect. I didn't have to move.
That wasn't a loft either. Like that was a wide drive. I had to fit that in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow. That was you. That was all. Listen, that was all you, my man. All right. We'll get to the text line.
There, Connor.
We'll get to the text line in a minute because I know people are chiming in about this first date thing, which we've had a lot of first date conversation now.
Even all year we're talking about it. And by the way, you are older than me, and I don't know how.
Yeah, I am. But our own Haley went on a first date, and it was at Fogo de Show, which is an incredible establishment. I'm not just saying that because I know they advertise on the station.
I like any of those kind of establishments.
I've been there multiple times. Nebraska is another great one.
Fantastic.
But she went there for a first date, and my first question is, as the man in the date, I know I've gone to Fogo, I think, 4 times now. All of them had been with the friendly confines of my friends or my family where I was able to be a pig and eat as much as I could. And it was a competition. I competed with my brother-in-law once. You're going on a first date and you're trying to impress someone. Are you going all out?
I think it's a rookie mistake.
It might be.
I think it's an absolute rookie mistake. The I'm going to overly impress you because I'm going to take you somewhere expensive.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what I've got. You're trying too hard.
So we'll get some reaction to this on the text line. But first, let's play some clips for you. We had Rob Motti on from the Associated Press, of course, an alumni here at 97.5 The Fanatic. And we asked him about Jalen Hurts and his career against Todd Bowles, where he hasn't had much success, 1-3 win-loss record. But, you know, his numbers aren't great against Tampa, and the Eagles play them this weekend. So here's Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about Todd Bowles' defense against this Eagles offense.
We've worked really hard at this, obviously, for the past year, and we've done a good job so far. But you're only as good as your next game. So excited about the challenge. You know, I know Jalen's really played well against the blitz these last couple games, and he's worked his butt off on it. And just excited about the challenge. But we know there's going to be challenges against Todd Bowles' coach defense. So you know, again, we've done a nice job so far, but you're only as good as your next game.
And you know that blitz is coming. Like there's no hiding it. Todd Bowles blitzes, Wink Martindale blitzes, Brian Flores blitzes. Like there are defensive coordinators and head coaches who call the defense like Todd Bowles does, where you know it's coming.
Right. But it's not like when Rob said he thinks that he's going to dial up the aggression and really get after Jalen Hurts, it scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, maybe it's even more because
it scares the hell
Jalen Hurts has struggled against it. But Jalen Hurts, as Nick Sirianni said, has been better this year against the blitz, maybe because of his new responsibility of being the one who calls out the blitz and not having to rely on Jason Kelce. So here's Jalen Hurts himself talking about this upcoming matchup.
I'm just excited for another opportunity to play this week. It's a great opponent, a great challenge. We just want to go out there and give our best.
You feel like you're in a better position to handle those this year?
Yeah, I think I'm wiser, I'm older, more seasoned in some areas, and I think that helps us.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we go back, he mentions wiser. Okay, yeah, his rookie year, or his first year as a starter, he struggled against them.
Oh, he really did.
Yeah.
But he struggled. The problem was he struggled after a full year of being a quarterback.
Yeah, he struggled last season.
And he regressed at the end of the year, and then, boy, it looked bad.
Yeah, but the whole team looked bad. And that's why I didn't want to bring Sirianni back, was you had 2 months to figure out a plan, and you never came up with a plan that would work.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, you knew what was coming. Like, obviously, it's more complex the way they blitz, right? There's so many, you can blitz off the edge, you can blitz the A-gap, you can do all kinds of stuff. But you knew blitzes were coming, and they had no answer for any of it. And I don't know if that's necessarily Jalen Hurts' problem last year.
Well,
I think that was a coaching staff issue last year.
I'm going to tell you this. Jeff Stoutland is spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's spectacular at coaching up guys and doing that. Jeff Stoutland's offensive line has sort of been owned by Todd Bowles.
It has been.
They've been old.
It has been. And hopefully that's not the case this Sunday, John.
Let's hope that's not the case. And I'm not expecting it to be, but well, I don't know where I'm leaning on this game, but some of the things that I'm hearing from people who are close to it, I'll do my buddy J.P. Peterson's show after the show. J. Jonah Jameson, as you call him.
Yes, J. Jonah Jameson.
He'll join us tomorrow, and he's heavy Bucs-centric. And he'll either get me in, because he's pretty honest. He'll tell me how concerned I should be. And he told me before the playoff game last year.
Yeah.
He was confident they were going to win.
Well,
like he was very confident, and he was not confident in the regular season game. He guaranteed in the regular season game,
Eagles win.
Because Eagles should win that game. But in the playoff game, he goes, I don't see how we're losing. And he ended up being exactly right.
Yeah, I don't really have a feel on this game like you, John, but I think a lot of it has to do with the injury questions.
Yeah,
it is. Oh, no, it totally is, Connor.
I don't think anyone should have a feel on this game until we know if A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith are playing or if Lane Johnson is out there. Like, you could be without. I know Landon Dickerson, this wrist thing kind of came out of nowhere. But if Mekhi Becton, Lane Johnson, and Landon Dickerson are out, there's no way you can pick the Eagles to win this game.
If we don't see, I'm going to tell you, if we don't see them today, we don't see these guys today practicing.
Yeah, it's concerning.
They're not playing.
Yeah,
they're not playing.
And then
if you miss a full day Wednesday and a full day Thursday, and you're in concussion protocol, you're absolutely not playing.
Yeah, so if you pick Tampa to win, it's not, oh, you're such a Negadelphian.
No, it's not.
The Eagles are missing key parts of their offense, and that's what's concerning. All right, what do we have on the text line about this date question, Connor?
All right, we have a lot of people saying, one, that it's an insane first date to take anybody on. So that's what a lot of people feel about this. But John H. says...
Can I ask you something real quick? First date, if he went to a normal steakhouse.
Yeah, that's fine.
I still think it's too much.
Because you mentioned that let me show you how much money
let me show you how impressed I can be. No.
I get that.
I think it's way too much.
Yeah, but some people are into that. Some people want to have like a more bougie type of relationship. Like, I think you can get away with that. I think the problem is just this unnamed amount of portion of how much you're going to eat. But John H. texts in and says, I'm definitely getting my money's worth, even if it's a first date, but I'm doing it elegantly. Like full-on meat sweats, though.
Elegant? How do you do meat sweats elegantly?
I guess you bring a kerchief and you just wipe your brow every time you sweat through the sirloin.
Question.
Oh, my gosh. No.
Question.
Yes.
This is not necessarily the date part, but violation question.
Okay.
I don't remember. Did they allow doggy bags at the Fogo?
No.
You're not allowed to take food home?
You cannot take food home. No.
Okay. So I was going to say, what if...
No, that's really...
What if you behave yourself eating, but you bring some home with you?
No. That's... You're a... By the way, if you take a doggy bag on a date...
Tell her it's a first date.
I heard Mike Missanelli talking about this. Mike was talking about this about taking the bread. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If anybody takes a doggy bag on a date, seriously.
I think the bread's free game, but I would not.
No, you don't take the bread home.
I wouldn't take it.
What are you? You're not a baller. I'll tell you. Oh, here, let me grab the bread.
All right, coming up next,
Unbelievable.
We'll get more text messages on all of our topics today.
Jeez.
And oh, by the way, Kevin Nagandi joins us at 9 o'clock today, and we still have two more Wendy's $50 gift cards to give away. We haven't given one away yet in this hour, so that comes your way next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider Update.
Okay.
7.
That's bull. Caller number 7 to the contest line, 215-263-0975 will win our third of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack. 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open till midnight or later. Participating locations only. Call number 7, 215-263-0975. We'll get to the text lines in a second, but don't forget FanFest is this Saturday. We're very close. I got a tweet from, I think it was Luis. Let me double check. Yes, Luis Ortiz wondering about the weather for Saturday. I'm sure that's being discussed.
It has to be discussed, but it doesn't look that bad. It really doesn't.
Right. But in case there are people that are wondering, it's going to be discussed, behind the scenes. That's above our pay grade.
I just talked to someone. The discussions are ongoing, so we will make sure that there is information pertaining to the weather.
Okay,
Connor,
cool.
you are next level.
And so if the weather is just dandy and we don't have to worry about anything else, which I hope that's the case, FanFest comes our way this Saturday at Xfinity Live, starting at 1 o'clock, all presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. You can check out more information at 975thefanatic.com. We do have tickets. So I didn't realize this. I thought the ticket raid was Friday. If you don't have tickets, you can just go on the website right now and get them.
Oh.
It's an ongoing ticket raid.
Oh, well, perfect.
I did not realize
ticket
this.
raid.
So if you want FanFest tickets and you haven't gotten them yet, you go to 975thefanatic.com. Under the featured tab, get free FanFest tickets now. You click on it, bang, you get your tickets. It's that easy.
I like it.
So if you haven't gotten tickets yet and you want to go Saturday, you literally have no excuse. Stop texting me. All right?
You have a whole spreadsheet.
I had to help.
No, I do.
I had to help Grandpa, also known as my brother, who's not a grandpa. I had to make sure that he knew how to get his tickets. He had deleted the email the first time he got it because it's from Access. So when you get the email, it doesn't say 97.5.
Yes.
He goes, I thought it was like some scam. No, it wasn't there. Pop up. So I helped him through the process. I swear to you, my wife, I was going to have a sitcom. My 1.5 husbands.
Yes.
They had 2.5 men, 1.5 husbands, because she picked up half a husband moving up here from Georgia. Because she takes care of her brother-in-law. She loves him very much.
Well, that's nice. So FanFest coming our way this Saturday at Xfinity Live starting at 1 o'clock. All right, what do we got in the text line there, Connor? Give us a couple of our sports texts, and then we'll get at least another one. We got to ask Kevin Nagandi about this, the first date question of how much you eat at an all-you-can-eat steakhouse on a first date. But give us some of the sports texts first.
Blake checks in and says, although the first-round bye for the Phillies is good, with that many days off, how worried are you guys that the team will get rusty, forget how to hit, struggle in that round like we've seen other teams do in the past? Does this team feel different to you guys?
I mean, look, we won't know till we know. Honestly, we don't. I understand the concern. I know you have a little bit of concern there.
Yeah,
I get it. Look, we've seen it. The Phillies have been the team that beat the team.
The Dodgers and the Braves, the last 2 seasons, neither one of them has made it to the NLCS.
Right.
They've both been upended. And that's the first 2 years of this new playoff format. And both of those teams, every bit, if not more, impressive than this year's Phillies.
But you're racing,
every bit.
You're racing one side of the bracket because the Houston Astros have been to the World Series, won it, and the ALCS.
And they won.
Right.
Yes, they both. But they're the only team that's done it, navigated it twice.
That means it's been done. Like it's not like
done.
it
Yes.
can't happen
Yes.
kind of conversation.
Maybe the Dodgers and Braves are just playoff chokers.
Could very well be.
Look, Dodgers very well. I mean, we know Clayton Kershaw's history, right? Like. There's a reason why they've won only one World Series with this squad. I mean, honestly,
one with an asterisk.
Yeah,
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I got you.
I guess it's not Mickey.
I understand the concern. I really do, and I know there's probably people going, "Man, I really wish they didn't win the 1 or 2 seed." What do you want them to do? Lose on purpose a couple games,
right?
And then have to turn it back on?
No, I
again?
mean, I understand. I got to tell you, I understand. I agree. Like Jason Stark and I did not talk about it with Jason. Him and I are on the exact same page. The 2 seed's the better path.
Yes.
Even though I want to make sure, as I was obsessing on before the show today, that they finish ahead of the Guardians, God forgive me, and the Yankees. Because if they finish tied with either one of those teams and wins, they don't get home field in the World Series.
See, I don't even think about that.
I do. I want it. I want Game 1 of the World Series in Philadelphia.
I would love that.
Playing the Yankees.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be
ideally, but if you get there, we'll cross that bridge when you're playing in the Fall Classic.
Yep. I saw Game 1 in Tampa, baby. They went up 1-0.
Yep.
Back in 2008.
Yep.
All right, give us another text, Connor.
All right, and we have one from Brian in Greensboro who says, Jeff Lurie holds some responsibility for Nick Sirianni's poor decision-making. You can't neuter a guy and expect him to change. He took a guy who needs attention and removed most of the ways that he could get it in the way he goes about his job. Now all he has left are high-leverage decisions. Are those really the ones that you want made by someone trying to make an impact?
I don't necessarily know if it's always ego, these decisions. He may just think that is what's best for the team. He himself said it. But I get what he's saying. I get what he's asking.
I think it's ego. I do.
I just want him to stick with it. If that's
ego.
what you believe in, then keep doing it. Stop changing. Stop being aggressive one drive and not the next.
I just don't want him making the calls. If he says we're going for it on fourth down, I'm fine with it. Just let Kellen Moore make the call.
Right.
I hope it's ego, because the alternative is he has no clue what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that. I don't believe that Nick from South Jersey is like that dumb.
All right, Kevin Agandi joins us next. Also, after we're done speaking with Kevin, I heard a call from an old buddy of mine on the Mike Missanelli show yesterday, and he said something that made me shake my head as I was driving.
It wasn't something Bill said?
No.
Oh, okay.
You didn't hear it. I want to play it for you guys. Get your reaction
good.
live on the air. I think it's a horrible, horrible, horrible attitude. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies get a week off.
Kincade Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up probably around 9:15, I'm going to play you a call from the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. There was a caller, an old buddy of mine, who called into the show.
And you have not let me hear this call.
No, I wanted to save it because it leads to great conversation.
Okay, good.
But I think it's a horrible attitude to have. We'll get into that coming up in a little bit. But right now, we head to the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you with what's next. Don't forget, guys, we're coming off of a victory. This is the Temple Owl segment.
Oh, wow.
Kevin Agani joins us. Kevin, we're 1-2, baby. We are 1-2.
Hey, we're on the board.
We are 2 wins away from hitting the over, and that's all I care about.
He said to bet the over, so there we are.
I said take the over, 2.5 wins.
By the way, Judas, that is a masterful tease. That is a masterful tease that's set up right before you brought me on.
Thank you.
I want to hear the call.
Thank you. Well, maybe we'll make sure you have a meter on you, though, because we would like the ratings.
Yeah, get that in.
Kevin, so our first chance to talk to you on the week is always Thursdays, so I know we're still a couple days removed from the last Eagles game, but we'd love to get your thoughts on the Eagles going down to New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints, who are putting up crazy numbers the first 2 weeks. Eagles held them offensively, just 12 points, and the Eagles get the win. What was your thoughts to the Week 3 victory for the Birds?
I think it just reveals the talent on the roster, right? That was a talent wins out type of game when the talent shows up, the first-round talent, especially on that defensive front. And it's great to see Jalen Carter unleashed. I mean, when he plays the way he played this weekend, it just changes the entire dynamic of the defense and the approach. So I think that really set the tone. And thankfully, the Eagles have Saquon Barkley because, and I think we're going to say that this weekend too. When you look at who's going to be available and who can play and who can't in the offense, I'm just really grateful. I know he's sort of the GOAT there in that Falcons game, and I'm not meaning it as the greatest of all time. I'm meaning it like a lot of people blamed him for not catching that pass. He took a ton of responsibility, and that long run meant a hell of a lot to him, that he wanted to kind of redeem himself, and he's been carrying this offense. And I think that when you lose the dynamic possibility of A.J. Brown stretching the field and the attention falls on 26, he always finds a way to respond. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for them to get a win. It's amazing about the NFL, right? That the Falcons had no business beating the Eagles on Monday night if you watched the game. Yet the Falcons won. And to a certain extent, the Eagles had no business winning that game against the Saints.
Oh, of course.
And they won. So it's the balance of the NFL. I will be very curious to see how this team responds in Tampa with the Bucs now, because the Bucs are coming off a real bad taste in their mouth. So this continues to be, I think, a learning curve for everybody and for the fan base to see where this team is in measuring how they feel in Fangio's defense, Kellen Moore's offense, and the head coach, Nick Sirianni, just trying to get one thing right on a fourth down call.
The one thing that I'm concerned about with my old college classmates, since it's a Temple segment, taking over those Tampa Bay Bucs, I know what he's going to bring on Jalen Hurts all day long on Sunday. And when there's no Brown, and then there's you got no Devontae Smith most likely, and no Lane Johnson potentially. I mean, this could be a really, really long day because Todd is spending all this week looking to exploit the fill-ins and figuring out how to stop them.
That's a phenomenal observation by you, because if you looked at the 2 previous games against Todd Bowles, Jalen Hurts has. It's like Todd Bowles has figured out the game plan for the entire league on that blitz and making sure you're applying pressure to the comfort zone of where Jalen Hurts likes to roll out, right? He did that in that first playoff game where Brady was on the field. We were at that game, and I thought Bowles' game plan and attack was fantastic. Leave it to a Temple Owl. And then, I thought last year we're going to just continue to do it until they stop it. Wouldn't you continue to do it till they stop it? And the Eagles haven't figured it out. Now that you have Kellen Moore, what's your response, right? How are you going to handle that? Do you give help? Do you have Saquon in the backfield chipping a little bit more, Gainwell chipping? I think they're going to get a lot of touches. And you know what? Don't be afraid about the dump off. If you've got to dump it off, man, there's a reason. You've got 26, and let him try to cook a little bit when these blitzes come in, because you're going to see a ton of pressure on Hurts, and he's going to have to figure it out, especially especially when you lose the short passing game with Covey. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's played a big role here on those short dump balls.
He certainly has.
And then you lose him. And the addition of Stoll is interesting because they may go a lot of two tight end sets here for quick passes and extra protection. So it's a great point. I'll be curious to see if we have Devontae play and coming out of the protocol, if he's still in the concussion protocol. So it's going to be a big challenge, and I think we're going to see a lot of 26.
Oh, yeah, we should expect it.
Let's hope we do, yes.
We're speaking to Kevin Agandi on the Comcast Business Hotline. Kevin, Stephen A. Smith, we played a clip of his early in the show today. It's been one of our main topics today. He went on to say during First Take yesterday that maybe some of the Eagles players should be taking on some of the blame as well for the rocky start, even though they're 2-1, for the rocky start. He's not absolving Nick Sirianni of blame, but it seems like everybody is talking about Nick Sirianni as to why they're 2-1, could be 1-2, right? Obviously, Saquon dropped it, but maybe the play call wasn't great. Do you think the players should get some more blame, or do you think it's been fair throughout?
So it's very hard for me to weigh in on what Stephen A. Smith said because I have no context on exactly where he's putting the blame on which players.
He just said, look, Hurts has 6 turnovers already this year. Saquon Barkley drops the pass that they could have won the football game on. Obviously, the pass rush in week 2, which was horrible, which is why Kirk Cousins was able to go downfield. But we talk so much about Sirianni and his decision-making. I mean, I could tell you just from what we do on a daily basis, Nick Sirianni's been talked about. It's been Nick Sirianni radio here the last 2 weeks.
Well, I will say that, the Falcons game, Sirianni got most of the blame because he's the head coach. But, it was a collective loss because the defense was atrocious on that final drive.
Yeah, wait a minute, though. One thing. You're head coach. You're supposed to do everything you can, and he says it over and over, to put your players in the best position to succeed. Best position to succeed is to take 40 seconds off the clock before you give the Falcons the ball back and make them drive all the way to beat you with a 6-point lead.
Totally agree. I'm not disputing that. I was exactly on that attitude as well. But your coach also put you in a bad spot. You still have to step up, right? You can't make it a 7-on-7. And it felt like a 7-on-7.
It did.
You can't touch the quarterback, right, on that final drive.
And then Hurts throws the pick, the next drive.
Here's where coaching plays a role. Fangio adjusted, right? He adjusted in the Saints game. And then you also saw that he had the attention of the defense, and they responded. I thought that was a completely different attitude and approach where it felt like the players felt a little more responsible on the defensive side than they did in that Falcons game, right? And it's 100% right on some of the blame with Jalen Hurts on decision-making. I mean, let's not forget, one of the big reasons why the success of 2022 and that season was Hurts did a phenomenal job of protecting the ball and being aware of when to throw it, when to run, when not to force it, right? So if you have 6 early turnovers, that plays a role and puts your team in a bad spot, especially some of those turnovers in the red zone, what we've seen in the early part of the season. So I think everybody has this is not to me, there's nuance in the conversation, right? This is not an absolute blame on one person, but at the same time, to John's point, there are many instances that the coaches put them in really tough situations. And tell me one 4th down call Nick Sirianni has nailed. He hasn't nailed one this season. Right. That's the problem, right? When you're in those situations where you have to score points and these games are coming down to the final possession, as we have seen the last 3 games, you've got to get it right on keeping the team on the field at the right moment, going for the points at the right moment, and taking time off the clock at the right moment. We haven't had the coach that has made those right decisions yet. He hasn't hit on one of those decisions, guys. And I know a lot of things can change if Saquon makes that catch, but you got to be aware that anything can happen. And where do I minimize the mistakes, potentially, right? And the coach right now hasn't hit on any of them, and he's got to eventually when you look at these close games.
I got to tell you this, is that I think I feel more positive about the 2024 Eagles than I did the 2023 Eagles because I just think there's more adults in the room and more competent minds in the room. So I'm going to let this thing breathe a little bit. And, Kevin, if they leave 2-2, hampered like this by injury, and they go into the bye 2-2, it's not going to change my opinion on what I think this team can accomplish long term. And it sounds like you're leading that way too.
To your point, John, are you saying that because of the
coordinators? Yes, and also Saquon. What about Saquon? You know, his leadership, and I know you've interviewed him. His leadership, his calm poise is just that's got to mean something to me.
I agree. If they go in 2-2 and they're beat up the way they are, it'd be frustrating because that Falcons game is going to linger there. But look at the way the division is, and if you're at 2-2 and you can rest up another week and then you reload, I feel a little bit better. I feel a little bit better just seeing the effort and the change of the defensive approach. It's just nice to see the two Georgia kids actually step up on that defensive line in that Saints game, right?
Absolutely.
That gave me some hope. That gave me some hope that somebody in the locker room has their attention and some accountability, right? That's the key. Are you accountable to who you are as a person, to the team, and the coaching staff? And it felt like that defense came out with some accountability. So I'm with you on that. There are two reasons, and you brought in Saquon, right? You brought him up. I completely agree with that. I will also bring up CJ. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson, while he can sometimes make some mistakes, there is a certain attitude and accountability that he has on that defense, no matter what, and a swagger that we didn't have last year that I will take regardless of the situation, and that helps.
Absolutely. Kevin, last thing before we let you go, real quick, preference. Diamondbacks, Brewers, Mets, Padres, Braves, if you had to pick.
Gosh.
I can't wait to hear this answer. We've all, by the way, have a lot of different discussion on this today.
I want nothing to do with the Padres right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen the way they've played, I want nothing to do with it. The Padres are what the Phillies were, the last 2 years, playing really hot in the final 2 months. And I know I should say the final month. I don't want anything to do right now with whatever the Mets are doing because there's something weird and magical, and you're like, oh, God, they've been a different team because it's not about the money. It's just they're playing like a team, and they've done that since the London series. So I will put it that way. Those are the two I'm like, let's just try to just move on and let's avoid the hot team more than anything else. It comes down to this, though, guys. It comes down to if you had to trade and talk to any fan base, they would take our roster and our front line pitching and our bullpen over anybody. Trust me. The key will be specifically this the rest of the playoffs. Can our top hitter, our leadoff guy, can our second hitter, and can our third hitter, the franchise, can all of them get on the same page? Can all of them avoid getting in a slump together? If one of them starts to consistently hit and get on base, it opens the door to, I think, everybody else in the lineup.
Great.
Love it.
Great. Kevin, we appreciate it as always, man. We can't wait to talk to you again next week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy watching, hopefully, a dry Eagles game on Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you, fellas. Be
good, buddy.
There he is, Kevin Gandhi on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next.
One thing to our man, Kevin, I have a lot of, back contacts in the SEC. He has impressed so many people that I know in the SEC with his college football.
Oh, he's a genius.
He's freaking unbelievable.
The only problem is this is not a college football town.
No.
So, I would love to ask him college football questions, but I know there's a lot of people listening that go, what do I care about this? He knows his stuff, which is why he's great with the draft. He knows his stuff, man.
He's impressed a ton of people with his with the way he's a college football. He's done a fantastic job.
When he retires from SportsCenter, he can work at Temple just the way Woj does with St. Bonaventure.
He could do that.
Real quick before I play this call for you,
that paycheck, he's not retiring from SportsCenter.
So. Kevin Gandhi said I had a good tease. How about that?
No, great tease.
Congrats.
He said.
I'll play that for you in a second. But I just saw an awesome tweet.
What's that?
Although I don't know if it's awesome.
What's that?
Our man Bob Vitrone, Boop Stats.
I love Boop. I used to work for his pop.
He's great. If the Phillies get to the World Series,
okay,
and there's a Game 5, that day is Sunday, October 27th.
I already have it on my calendar.
It would be the first Philadelphia Sports Equinox Day.
Oh, all four?
Phil's Game 5 World Series.
Wait. What did he say?
Eagles, Bengals. For just the Philadelphia Sports Equinox Day.
Huh. I have different dates on my calendar for the World Series. Maybe I've changed it. Maybe that's changed.
Maybe it's changed. Flyers, Montreal, Sixers, Pacers. All on the same day. Part of it's hell yeah, but part of it's I'm not going to watch two of them.
What? You're not a fan?
No, there's hierarchy.
Seriously,
like,
you can't,
4 for 4?
You cannot in any way pay attention, with all due respect. You cannot
World
pay
Series
attention
Game 5 is number 1.
World Series game should be number 1.
Eagles number 2.
Eagles number 2.
And then, with all due respect to the Flyers and Sixers in October.
You can't worry about those in October.
So, as I had the immediate reaction as you did, hell yeah. But then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to watch 2 of those games.
I guess I'm just built different.
You
I
are.
can focus.
You are.
No, you can't.
Just gotta lock in.
Can't focus on. You're not watching a huge game of the World Series and going, well, what are the Flyers doing? They're Flyers going on the power play. Yeah. No, you can't.
Watch me.
You cannot do that.
Come on, man.
By the way, that is what date did he say?
October 27th.
Wrong. Okay. World Series Game 1 is Friday, October 25th.
Game 5.
Game 2 is Saturday, October 26th.
Interesting.
Game 3 would be Monday, October 28th, 28th, 29th, 30th. And if necessary, Game 6 and 7 of the World Series is November 1st and 2nd.
Oh, well then.
So Boop was off on his dates.
We don't know.
He's never off on his dates.
I'm Team Boop.
By the way, I'm going to go, and I love Boop, and he knows what he's doing. I'm going off of official MLB.com.
Oh, what do they know?
Yeah,
what do they know?
They can't even figure out the last week of the schedule.
Exactly. Because they have games doubleheader on Monday.
I'm already looking at my Philly sports trips going up for the Birds and the Giants.
Oh, that's right.
That could be NLCS. That could be NLCS Game 6.
Good thing there's some of those buses have Wi-Fi.
Oh no, absolutely. No, quite. Well, it's a 1:00 game.
Oh, you got.
So you'd be pretty much get home in time, but it might be scrambling.
All right, I want to play this for you, and this will lead to conversation next segment. So I was driving home, listening to the Mike Missanelli show, as I do every day,
with the talented Bill Calarulo.
Yep, and Ray Dunn.
My man, he's talented too.
He is. Temple made Temple proud.
He is.
Our man,
Temple.
Aaron from West Philly, who I've been talking to for years on this station. And he and I have had many back and forth.
Are you talking about knockdown dragouts, or are you talking about...
Oh, here we go. We go toe-to-toe. It's like,
okay.
You know how I am with Jay from West Philly?
Yeah, you and Jay from West Philly really give and take. But I think you give and take pretty well.
Yeah, me and Aaron had those same beefs. Now, for other reasons, because Aaron was like a Braves fan when he was younger, a Cowboys fan when he was younger. He's changed, all this kind of stuff.
Dropped in his head.
So take a listen to his call yesterday, the Mike Missanelli show. And I know, let me make this clear, he's not alone. So I'm not picking on Aaron. He's just the one that made the phone call, so he gets picked on. But there are other Philadelphia fans that have this attitude, and I think it's a horrible one. Take a listen.
Aaron in West Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Man, I understand this kid, man, because I'm a suffering, frustrated fan. Now, let's just start it. The Phillies keep losing. When the
Phillies keep getting there. Oh, my God.
Sixers go out in the second round every year.
The Sixers.
What do you think the kid is watching? The Flyers is doo-doo. you know, come on, Mike. You used to be tough. No, it's generational, just like Bill was saying. It's generational. I guess he won championships. He won winners.
So,
really? Is somebody saying that this is like a dreadful time to live in?
So there's a 19-year-old kid who has a Twitter account that Mike was ripping on air. The kid called in and everything. It was great back and forth, right?
Okay.
And his Twitter account is the Philly Sports Sufferer. It's like, yo, dude, you're 19.
Stop it.
Like, I'm 30. I haven't suffered. Connor, you haven't suffered.
You two are...
I've suffered.
No,
we're spoiled.
You two are spoiled, rotten brats.
Yes.
You throw Brendan Gunn in there.
Absolutely. But Aaron
Haley can be in there,
Aaron
too.
is in your age demographic, right?
Right.
That's the Phillies keep losing. Would you rather be the White Sox, who won 31 games this year?
Well, I think there's a legitimate question.
All right, and that's why I knew.
I can't believe this.
We will discuss this next. At 610-632-09. If you want to line up, it's
sufferer, this fan base.
The 9:30 segment's usually our last segment to talk to the people, text messages and calls. You hear Aaron there.
Sufferer.
And Aaron's saying that we've suffered.
Oh, jeez.
The Sixers thing I totally get. But, man, I've told you guys numerous times. I said it last year on Middays. I've continued it with this new regime of Kincade Salciunas. I believe we are in a golden day. We just need to win a championship, right?
No, I would absolutely agree with that.
We need to win a championship.
This fan base isn't suffering.
We have it freaking amazing here in Philadelphia sports, and they keep losing. Yeah, in the World Series and NLCS, I think that's a horrible attitude.
It's a terrible take.
We'll discuss this more coming up next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies secure.
You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
All right,
A little
it's
late on that.
9:32 on Kincade and
Sorry
Salciunas.
about that. I was a little late.
97.5.
Gotta read the sponsor faster.
All right, so our man Aaron from West Philly's on the line. But I want it before we go to him, I want your reactions first to what you heard. Aaron complaining, the Phillies always lose.
By the way, is that here's what I got a problem with. Is that I don't know, Aaron's you're saying closer to my age.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to say is there was a time when Aaron and I and people of my generation could absolutely say we were long-suffering and everything.
Correct.
I believe that the Phillies' second World Series and the Eagles winning the Super Bowl wipes all that conversation out. Wipes it out. Because the Eagles was all that mattered, and the Eagles were nothing but successful. I lived in a town for 26 years that absolutely was tortured, that won one World Series but kept going back, just like all those other teams, where the NBA team did nothing, where the football team lost a Super Bowl in the worst way possible, the punchline of punchlines. We try to figure it out. There's very few cities in America, maybe Tampa Bay is one of them, that has had a better since 2000 than us.
Right.
I mean, seriously, to be constantly in the championship mixed is a blessing, an absolute blessing. You ain't suffering. You're suffering when your teams all suck. That's when you suffer.
Now, I don't disagree with what you're saying there very much. There's one little bit that I will bring up, and it's more of a question because,
What's that?
John, I'm largely on your side.
Okay.
But who do you think would be more upset with the outcome of this baseball season? Let's just live in this world. Season ends. White Sox fans or the Phillies advance to the World Series and they lose?
I'd rather be a Phillies fan watching my team lose in the World Series than my team putting together
no question.
I understand.
A historic season of 132 losses.
I understand your point.
I loved Andy Reid and his entire era, and he never won a damn thing. Never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and only got to the one. And it was a golden era because it was so much suck before it.
It's not about who you'd rather be, right? My question is, which one do you think hurts more?
Obviously, the Phillies one hurts more, but
to some people, that's suffering.
No, suffering is when you're not even in the conversation.
Suffering is
when you're hanging out with a group of guys. You go to a wedding or you go to a golf outing, and you don't know the people you're golfing with. And those guys have hand over you because of the teams they root for and everything like that, and you're the butt of the jokes constantly. That's the people that suffer. Suffering is when you're a loser.
You know what suffering to me was? 10 years. A playoff drought. That's suffering. A 10-year playoff drought is suffering. Not losing in a World Series and then losing in an NLCS.
This is not anybody. And by the way, you said the young man who I've read his stuff.
It's an entertaining Twitter account.
And he's 19 years old?
Yes.
You know what I said to you? I'm not going to say it on the air. I'll say, screw you. It's any 19-year-old that is saying, oh, man, I'm a suffering Phillies fan. Be quiet. Zip your lip. You are not suffering. You're not suffering.
Yeah, I'm largely more on your guys' side, and I would take the competitive team over the non-competitive team.
More than competitive team.
They're a great team.
I understand. I'm breaking it down to its base level. But when you lose at the last step or close to the last step, it hurts more than a team that never had the chance to begin with.
But it's still better to have loved than have not,
Some people disagree with that.
Let's go.
It's actually a question from Shakespeare.
Let's go to Aaron right now. Aaron, hello.
Aaron, buddy, what's up?
Okay, I'm on the phone. I'm on the radio.
You are. You're on the radio.
He's in the truck. He's in the truck. I hear the truck.
Yeah, you hear the truck. You know what I do, man. You misrepresented me.
We played the audio.
We played the audio. We didn't edit the audio.
Okay, you can play all the audio you want. You misrepresented me.
Okay.
Okay. At the end of the day, let me get this out. At the end of the day, me and John are around the same age. We've been through a lot. We've seen a lot. I have suffered in championship form. That's what I'm talking about. Championships. I have fun during the year when they winning. Don't act like I'm a grouch all year long. I love my team.
The thing is, does National League champion not mean anything?
Yes, it does. And I was happy. I was there. I understand it. But at the end of the day, I suffer because I don't have championships to wave and talk to people about. You think when I argue with people out here, what's the first thing they bring up to me?
Rings.
I'm out here in the trenches.
Who are you arguing with? Wait. Who are you arguing with?
He's near the Cowboys fans. I know Aaron's story. There's a lot of Cowboys fans.
Cowboys fans haven't won anything in 30 years.
Stop with that. Stop with that. The Cowboys stuff. I tell y'all something kind of like when I was a young boy. I didn't grow up like you did in the Phillies household, the Sixers household.
No, I'm not calling you a cow. No, I'm saying you.
No, but Aaron,
no, you just misheard. I said you are around Cowboys.
But you got three.
Fans.
You got 3 decades. The Cowboys have done nothing in 3 decades. The Cowboys have one of the longest droughts of not even appearing in the NFC title game. No, they can't. They're talking about stuff that happened when we had VCRs. They're not talking about modern era. 30 years ago means nothing. The Redskin fans, it means nothing. Nothing.
John, if we have 5 championships right now, would we say we have 5 championships?
No, I would not be going around bragging about stuff that happened when I was in college.
Aaron, I would tell you this right now.
And out of college.
Me growing up, me and Connor, right? Connor's almost at 30. We're 30 years old, right? My 30 years of being an Eagles fan has been so much better than the 30 years of a Cowboys fan. Now, I know that you and I are not the same age, so I get it. You hear it from different demographics. But, man, over the last 30 years, gosh, it's been better to be an Eagles fan than a Cowboys fan.
Spoiled rotten. I mean, these kids, Aaron, we can agree on that. The modern era kid in this Philly, they're spoiled rotten.
But I'm not suffering in that aspect. I love what the Phillies do. I love what the Eagles do. I can't say I love what the Sixers do because they always get knocked out.
Yes, that I hear you.
Now that I understand.
But you know what I mean? But I love to see them marching on. But at the end of the day, I suffer because I don't have championships. That's all I'm saying.
Aaron,
I want more of them.
Aaron, we got to have a beer sometime.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Aaron. We appreciate it, man.
I'm going to come to the FanFest.
All right, good. We'll have a beer then.
Aaron, I look forward to seeing you, buddy.
Last time I saw Aaron in person was at NLCS Game 5, the Bedlam at the Bank.
Devin's 19?
Is this another one?
Is this another 19-year-old?
Devin?
Yeah, right here.
Devin, you're 19 years old, right?
Yes, sir. I'm going to be 20 in December.
And you're a Philly fan?
Yep. So I'm kind of a transplant. We've moved all over. My dad's originally from Philly. Raised us as huge Eagles fans, screaming out at the TV, going crazy. But, we really have had it the best. I mean, I grew up watching Shady. I mean, we didn't have much of a quarterback, but those teams were still good.
They were. Dev, you're just like my daughter. She's 20, so she's a year ahead of you. I always tell her, as a Philadelphia fan, when she tells me, "Oh, I'm so anguished, like we got to win," I'm like, "You spoiled brat,
right?"
It's like don't be spoiled.
Oh, 100%. I tell my dad all the time because he's telling me about all those teams when he was growing up. He was born in '74, so
so he understands.
The Flyers won, but
right.
Yeah, but I've still been able to see a decent hockey team when I was younger. I mean, I remember
and the beauty of that hockey team, and Devin, thanks for the call, man.
You,
we
buddy.
appreciate your input. The beauty of the hockey team, they finally have a direction.
They do.
They didn't have, literally, they had no direction for 5 years under Chuck Fletcher. Now, all of a sudden, you know what they want to do, and they have a plan.
I read something the other day where someone who I really trust in hockey goes, the Flyers, right now, as young talent, he had them 13th or 14th in the NHL. Young talent that's
pretty good.
I love it because I believe they're stocking the shelves.
But you guys got to understand, part of the argument is pain is relative. And part of what we're trying to do having this discussion is give perspective to generations that have not experienced what others have. But if you grow up eating dog food, a cheeseburger sounds pretty good. If you grow up eating prime rib, a cheeseburger sounds pretty bad. So some people in the younger generation who have experienced great times but have set the bar at championship believe this is suffering. And I can't fault them for the only thing they've known. What we can do is we could try and give perspective, but some people have a harder time realizing how good they have it. And I understand with a bar set high, some people would consider this suffering. I'm largely on your guys' side, but I'm not going to pretend like there hasn't been heartbreak.
This ain't suffering.
This isn't suffering.
Okay,
I've lived through the suffering.
Right, but you guys sound like the uphill both ways to school, which is, I understand the argument I agree with you guys.
But the uphill both ways to school, listen, though. The uphill both ways to school, unlike that analogy, is factual. It's factual. The what I lived through, what guys in their 50s, 60s lived through, is factual.
Yeah,
it's not a made up
history.
Walked up to school both ways. It was terrible times.
But again, part of the conversation is perspective, and a generation that has not gone through as much, their bar for suffering is lower. So to them, it feels like it.
All right, they believe they're suffering. I believe we're spoiled.
I say they need to pull up your big boy pants.
All right, coming up next, we have
Bunch
the
of wimps.
Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Also, something interesting from Brandon Graham. Did you see this quote? I'll read it to you next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP. Go right now to 975thefanatic.com/MVP.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. On a Wendy's Thursday morning, let's give away our last gift card. Call number 5 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. We'll win our fourth and final $50 Wendy's gift card. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack. 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open till midnight or later. Participating locations only.
Can I ask you one question fast?
Yes.
Who are the greatest passers in NFL history?
Dan Marino,
Peyton Manning,
Brady,
Tom Brady, whatever.
obviously.
Yeah.
Any of them have arms like Jalen Hurts? You know how sometimes they say players get too jacked up? Like too jacked?
Oh, you talking about the muscle tone?
Yeah, like his arms.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts' arms are double Peyton Manning's.
Yeah.
Are double Tom Brady's.
Well, maybe.
Or double,
Well, let's face it, he did not have the zip, and so maybe he did that to try to increase his throwing power. But
the greatest quarterback passers of all time have lean arms, sometimes they say too jacked up.
You want more hefty lefties?
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
I don't know.
Yeah, Babe Ruth was a fat piece of, look at the guy sitting home runs now. Aaron Judge don't look like Babe Ruth.
Yeah, he does not.
Yeah.
Guys change.
All right, real quick before we get to the key three. Brandon Graham leaving the door open for another year.
The way he's playing.
He's been playing so well. He straight up said, honestly, I'm going to stay ready for just one more year, just in case if a situation popped up where it's like, okay, they need me. But right now, I'm just trying to get through this year, enjoy it as much as I can, and hopefully make a bunch of plays to help the team and help my teammates get to their next level. Either way, I'm going to be a part of what they're doing next year as a player. Who knows? But I might stay ready for another year, depending on how everything goes this year.
It's 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's a week 3 conversation.
Can we stop this?
It is. But he's been playing well, and I want to give
know
him
he has, and
credit.
we love that he's playing well, but 3 weeks, stop it.
Damn right. All right, it's time now for the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 presented by Von C.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
So the question today, are the players getting enough criticism? Look, Nick Sirianni, I believe, deserves every bit of criticism that he has received.
I think Jalen is.
Are you sure he's getting enough criticism?
No, Jalen has a blind defender route. I mean, honestly, I've never seen it. I can't even imagine how it is. But to me, yeah, I think Jalen's gotten enough critique.
I really haven't seen it, man.
Really?
We even had a caller again this week saying that the interception wasn't his fault. I mean, the amount
Jalen's gotten enough critique.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think Jalen's gotten. If you agree with me,
there were people calling him Carson Wentz, myself included, on Sunday.
And that's unfair.
Yeah, dude, and if I'm saying it the way that I handle players and teams in this city,
true.
He's gotten enough critique.
And so to me, I'm looking at it as I think he's absolutely gotten enough. I don't think he's gotten an unfair amount, but I do believe he's gotten enough. But I would say to people, if we're not talking Sirianni, we're not talking Hurt.
Right.
Who's to blame? The offensive line? Is there anybody in the offensive line that should be catching shrapnel right now?
No, Jalen Hurts has the most time in a clean product of the NFL this year.
So it's not the offensive line. It's not Saquon Barkley. It's not his wide receivers. It's not his tight end. Nah, I absolutely think Jalen Hurts has gotten enough. And by the way, I admire Jalen because you know what he hasn't done? He hasn't done Nick Sirianni routine.
You're right.
He hasn't done super defensive Jalen Hurts going. Jalen Hurts has eaten every bit of critique that he's got. And I haven't heard word one from him trying to deflect it.
I haven't heard the you don't know what you don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But I am impressed that Jalen hasn't gone to that card, and I'm glad that he hasn't.
Phillies clinch a bye last night. They get the win. And how about the Pirates taking care of business against the Brewers last night?
Got a couple runs in the sixth, make it 2-1, and then
there you go. That was it. And so the Phillies get the bye. We don't know yet if they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed. But I want to further this conversation. I will allow you to explain who you would like in the first round. You guys already know my answer. I don't give a damn. Whoever the Phillies get in the first round of the playoffs, if they do not win, it is a failure. Padres, Brewers, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Mets, Braves, you name it. Whoever they play in the first round, this Phillies team is supposed to go to the World Series.
On the defensive side of the ball, we've critiqued the pass rush or lack thereof. Bryce Huff, people almost look at him as a joke. He's been and he's earned every bit of that disrespect.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't believe that people should be doing that yet, but I think that people are there with him.
Rob Motti. Rob, good morning, man. How you doing?
The Broncos had some success last week on the ground. Bo Nix ran a little bit, made some plays. We know Jalen can do that, and I think this is a week where you're going to need Jalen to do more of that. We haven't seen him through the first 3 weeks. He's kind of picked his spots. This may be a game where you need Jalen to go for 80, 90, or 100 yards because you're lacking so many guys around him.
God forbid, if the Phillies lose in the first round of the playoffs, you know the field day that there will be for a lot of Phillies fans.
And I have no place for the cockroach. And they are. They're cockroaches that are going to sit there and I'm just waiting for a team that I supposedly love to fail so I can then come out and go, see, I told you so. You didn't know Jack. You were wrong all season about that
You don't know
team.
Jack.
You were wrong all year about the Phillies.
Kevin Agani joins us. Kevin, we're 1-2, baby. We are 1-2.
You've got 26 and let him try to cook a little bit when these blitzes come in because you're going to see a ton of pressure on Hurts and he's going to have to figure it out.
Do you believe the Eagles players are getting enough criticism? It's been 3 weeks of not necessarily pretty football. They're 2-1. It hasn't been pretty. I know everybody likes to point out the lack of preseason, and maybe that's why it's not pretty to start. You look at the rest of the NFL. Clearly, that's an issue league-wide. But are the players getting enough criticism to start? Now, I will say this. Nick Sirianni still deserves the biggest piece of the pie when it comes to criticism. I think we're handling it well. I just wonder if there are some times where people will give the players the pass because they don't like Nick Sirianni so much. All right, that's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show. Presented by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Don't miss their Oktoberfest celebration, September 27th. That starts tomorrow through the 29th, where you can try what beers, John, during their Oktoberfest Key 3.
I know the Von C. You can have the Berliner Weiss, the Fest beer, and the Von C. Oktoberfest Märzen beer.
Check them out, VonCBrewing.com, and find out where you can pick up your Key 3 from Von C today.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Easy Friday in front of us. It's going to be fun, right?
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Depends on the injury report.
As long as the Eagles can play.
The Bucs injury report is much longer.
It is. It's going to be a fun show tomorrow.
Can't wait.
We'll cover Eagles Bucs all day. Everybody have a great rest of the day. The Mike Missanelli Show comes your way next right here.